Testing, and we are live. Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like. Oh, I got to echo. Hold on. I always going to have a problem. There we go. Killed it. Hit the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And we are here the night before NHL Free Agency is set to begin in roughly 17 and a half hours, 12 p.m. Eastern, right? Tomorrow, free agency frenzy begins. Will the New Jersey Devils have their hands in their pockets playing pocket pool? Will we get anybody? I am here with some special guests. Chris and Tim from the Uncle Puckers podcast have been meaning to reach out to these guys for a while. I enjoy their show. And said, why don't you guys come on the night before? I'm looking at the comments here. The night before free agency, and we'll just talk some New Jersey Devils hockey, pipe dreams, hopes, shattered dreams, etc. And how are you guys doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having us, Ace. This is awesome. We're big fans of you too. And you're very enthusiastic in that opening, man. Our show starts and
America runs on Dunkin', man. I'm all
there
fired
you go.
Up on
there
espresso.
you go. There you go. But man, this is very awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Make sure you leave your milk and cookies out for Elliot Friedman.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start. I guess, Tim, we were talking a little bit before we came on here. Kind of not going to expect a lot, especially from the Devils. But in terms of free agents, it seems like guys are slowly going off the board. Kind of what are your thoughts at this moment, as in the past few hours we've seen Ekblad and Marchand re-sign in Florida on super team-friendly deals. And obviously that sign and trade facilitated with Toronto and Vegas, where Mitch Marner is heading out to Vegas, another tax-free state, by the way. It's a whole topic maybe we'll touch on. But what are your kind of thoughts as we stand right now, even across the league?
Yeah, but I've been of the mind this whole time that I really feel like we should tap into the free agent market pretty lightly. I don't think we need any of these big name guys. We got to find some undervalued guys. We're already talking about dumping two of our biggest free agent acquisitions over the past 5 years. And I just feel like the UFA deals never work out. In terms of all the guys getting retained, Bennett, Florida's going to win again also. So it's what's the point? What are we doing? Let's just pack it up for a year. Fuck it. Let's just go to the beach. Bringing Bennett back, Marchand until he's 43 years old. The guy's going to be on Medicaid by the time he retires there. Ekblad's back. So, it's looking like a pretty grim free agent market. So I don't know. I don't know if Fitz has got up his sleeve.
I think we kind of knew that though, right? Going in at the free agent, if any moves were going to be made when Fitz is out there saying that this team is going to look completely different next year and stuff, we all kind of, at least I know on the show, our show, Tim, we assumed most of this was going to come trade wise. So that's kind of what I'm excited about tomorrow is Tom Fitzgerald going to have the balls to make some big trades? Because, you talked about Palat and Hamilton tomorrow at noon. They're 10 teams, no trade or no move clause gets into 10 teams that they can get traded to. Is he going to move anybody? And who does he have in mind? That's the other thing. We have no idea what Tom Fitzgerald's freaking thinking. I'm guessing most likely he's in some darkness retreat right now. And we'll hear from him in September. And, Marty signed Cody Glass again. Good job, Marty. I don't know.
He's just taking Ayahuasca or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's hanging out with
Rodgers, just hanging out.
He's got his Steelers season tickets ready for next year. So
what do you guys make of, people are killing him for it. I've not relented on complaining about the many transgressions I believe Fitzgerald has been kind of guilty of over the years. People are kind of making a big deal out of the Cody Glass thing. I mean, is there really, I don't know. To me, it's kind of much ado about nothing. They didn't give him the qualifying offer. Then he comes to find out, however he does, whether it's, planted from Glass's agent or whatever, that, there is in fact interest in Cody Glass. Maybe I have to send him a qualifying offer. I guess they did that, a couple hours ago as well as Luke. What are your thoughts on, I guess, Glass in general? And what do you anticipate, I guess him getting in terms of a contract?
Yeah, glasses are a perfect 4C for us. The center market is so thin, trades and UFAs. We gotta keep them. We the market's so thin. We signed some guy that nobody's ever fucking heard of, pardon my French, from the Swiss league this Juha Lamiko guy. Like, is that guy going to play for us? I've never heard of him. Never seen him.
He's got a one-way deal. He's got to play.
He's definitely playing. And honestly, it to me, it reeks of one of these, like somebody was in, the analytics room. They're like, we found a diamond in the rough. And it's like, to me, it's just very reminiscent of like Sprong and Glass at the deadline, which I freaked out about. Like that to me was just an underwhelming deadline for a team that, despite all the injuries, wasn't a playoff position. And I think even with the guys that were still healthy, could have made a better push than they did. It seemed like a complete abandonment to the team, in my opinion, for those to be your big ads. And this one kind of reeks of the same thing. I mean, how excited can you get for a guy that hasn't been in the league in 3 years? Like, I don't care what, charts and whatever they're looking at where they think he's going to be a contributor. I don't believe they're going to go out and sign a guy like that for Utica. I have to believe that they believe he's going to be in the bottom 6 come opening night.
Yeah. And and my issues with Fitz isn't necessarily the deadline. It's that he can't seem to operate outside of the traditional windows. Like he only did something at the deadline. Meanwhile, we had clear problems throughout the entire year for 2 years in a row. So it's fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. It was goaltending 2 years ago. We're screaming from I just invented.
You never heard that, Chris?
He's fucking with Tim.
Oh, I was like,
this. Chris, go get a haircut. Hang on, sorry. Made me lose my train of thought.
You lost your train of thought.
2 years ago, goaltending. Like that was our biggest concern. And he waited until like the last minute of the deadline. I get, there's some vagaries with the marketplace and what you have to deal with, but make something happen. Colorado was able to flip their entire goaltending tandem in October, November this year to change things around. This whole year, our 5-on-5 offense has been really bad. Like it's been mediocre. We were propped up by good defense, decent goaltending, and a good power play. And the 5-on-5 offense was really bad. And then it just fell off a cliff in after New Year's, and he did nothing to address that. We screaming about it the whole year. We got nothing out of our bottom 6, nothing.
And I also feel, hey, I'm curious. Do you think, like, I felt like once Jack went out for the season, that Tom Fitzgerald gave up on this team? Like, I seriously feel like he felt there was no chance without Jack, and he just sat on his hands. And when he got to the trade deadline, that was all desperation moves. That was the fan base is freaking out. They're ready to come into my office and string me up on my ankles here. I need to do something. So you go out and get Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong. Like you said, big whoop. Like Sprong played 2 playoff games for us, I think. 1 maybe. I don't even know how much he was even in that lineup. So like he loves, like you said, he loves to do everything in the summer, likes to do the free agency, come trade deadline. You can have a million problems. He's not going to make in-season moves. And I don't understand that logic. I like general managers that are aggressive, that identify a problem and then go and fix it. It might not always work, but you have to take chances. Florida doesn't get to this position without taking chances. Any team that wins, Vegas 2 years ago, took chances. They're not all going to pay off, but you have to do something.
No, I 100% agree. I feel like, he was, once Jack went down, he was like, oh, that's our season, pack it up. Yeah. And it's like, what kind of loser mentality shit is that? Like, if your team is built on the back of one guy in hockey, I mean, maybe in basketball, it could be different, or like football, your quarterback, totally different. But in hockey, if your best player or any player goes down and you're like, oh, there's our chances, we're done, pack it up, try again next year, I think is complete loser mentality stuff. It drives me absolutely crazy. And furthermore, my biggest issue with it is I do believe it's a slap in the face to the guys on the roster that are playing, including veterans like Markey, who got sold a bill of goods to come here to try to win a cup in the twilight of his career. And you're like, oh, Jack's out, so fuck us. I mean, I don't know. Furthermore, Nico Hischier, he's a free agent in 2 years. People assume that no matter what, he's going to resign here. And I'm not of that mindset. I believe that guys now want to win. He will get paid from plenty of other teams, including contenders, including teams that are in tax-free states. And so if you're him, what are you so desperate to re-sign with the Devils? Even he's a captain, I'm sure he likes it here. But what has he been shown in the past couple of years to make him truly believe that this organization is trying to win a cup? Like you guys have said, nothing in season, despite glaring needs in 23-24, drowning with horrific goaltending. And I'm sorry, I will never buy the excuse that you couldn't just get any average NHL goaltender.
Right.
I'm not buying it whatsoever. And then miraculously on deadline day, you get Kakinen and Allen when it's completely too late. Ridiculous. And then last season, again, like you said, the problem started creeping up in January. And I think for me, I personally I think I put out a video, like hit the panic button or something. I feel like it was in January, I want to say, when they played like crap in a home and home. It was the Flyers in Ottawa.
So yeah,
it was like a Saturday, Sunday.
It was a weekend gap.
That Flyers game was one of the worst games. I remember that.
After those two games, I was like, that's it. This is more than a little skid. This is not a bump in the road. Like, this team is flawed. Go fix it. And then once again, the hope and wish, more injuries hit. And then it's like you said, oh, Jack's down. What are we going to do? And the crazy thing is, you see on the internet, there's fans that are like, well, Jack was hurt. We shouldn't have given up assets or done anything to add guys. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm not saying to go get pure rentals. There was tons of guys' names floating out there with term left. I'm like, wait, these needs are going to exist beyond the season. What are we talking about? So I do think, more so than just burning another year of a core and old guys, like Markey, that it just sends the wrong message to the team. And again, my biggest concern kind of looming in the background of the whole thing is, what does a guy like Nico Hischier think this means for his future? And then we didn't even get to the not using the LTIR money 2 times in a row while it was still there. And now that's closed.
I think you can look at all that stuff, and it just is all just bad grades for Tom Fitzgerald. And if he doesn't do something tomorrow, especially tomorrow, that's any big moves that are going to be done are most likely going to be done tomorrow. If he is not a player in that, consider to make this team considerably better because right now it just seems to me like he's depending on our kids now. Some of these draft picks coming in, the Russian kid, Gritzlick and Hamanaho, whatever.
Chris has problems.
Chris has problems with names. Tim knows I do it mostly on purpose because we happen to have a listener that loves to correct me all the time, so I do it to mess with him. But anyway,
it's brutal.
Knows who he is.
And I'm sure he does. But is that your game plan? Or are we just going to roll with rooks and fix the bottom 6 that way? Like, he's got it. And if he does not fix this team because there's no look, you don't make the playoffs next year, or you have a first round exit again, Tom Fitzgerald should not have this job. He obviously cannot do it. He just, to me, he has no balls. And that's the biggest thing. Go take a freaking chance. He loves this locker room that everybody gets along and it's all a big happy family. And because of that, he doesn't like to move guys and he's willing to give anybody a no movement clause, or willing to give everybody a big contract right away. Look, I get it. You love Dougie Hamilton. He was our first big free agent acquisition in this kind of new regime of the Devils that we see now. Him and Palat were the first 2 big names. But when you get to a certain point, it might be time to move off of Dougie Hamilton. And I'm not saying move off of Dougie Hamilton. I know that that's what everybody's talking about now, possibly. His $9 million, yeah, sure, we can use it. That's not my biggest problem with Dougie Hamilton is the injuries. The guy can't stay healthy. So if you can get something for him now, because his value is just going to keep going down. He has another injury-plagued season for New Jersey. You're not moving him ever. So for me, that's why I would move him. I would say, okay, Luke is ready. Put some trust in Nemec and these kids to come in that can take over that job and go get something with I think our biggest asset that we have on the team. For me, Dougie would definitely be on the block. 120 games this guy's been injured since he's been a Devil. Like, that's too much. He's got to go.
Tim, what do you think about all this Dougie slander? We talked about it a little bit.
Timmy loves Dougie.
And look, I think this is probably, it's a harder problem, I think, than people are giving it credit for. Because, Dougie's been hurt most of 3 seasons that he's been here. He's had 1 good season, right? But when he's on the ice, he's actually probably one of our most important offensive pieces. When he got hurt, he was 12th in scoring for defensemen across the entire league, 12th. So, but that's the problem, is he got hurt, and then Fitz doesn't have the nuts to fill that in. The other issue is now that Kovacevic is getting knee surgery, it's not just, Kovacevic is going to be there so we can let Nemec slide in and take Dougie's spot. Now we have to rely on Casey as well sliding in and probably taking a decent amount of time. And I do not think Casey is ready for a full-time NHL load. And if Kovacevic, I'm a big
how would you feel about
I'm a big lefty-righty guy, especially on defense.
You use both hands. I understand.
Well, you got to keep the forearm strong.
I know. You can't be looking like Popeye on one arm and Olive Oil on the other.
Knows. He just went to the gym. Yeah.
I didn't touch weights. It's just strictly treadmill and sauna.
I just use the conditioner in the shower. So that's my problem is like I think we would need if we move Dougie, Nemec slides in, Luke takes power play 1, but are we relying on Casey to be a third pair D for an extended period of time? It's going to be 3, 4, 5 months of the season because if it's a ligament injury, we'd never even really kind of heard what it was with Kovacevic. I'm assuming it's a ligament. That's kind of what his timeline is going to be looking like, and how long is that going to be, and is he going to come back like he was? So I think that's another kind of knock on Fitz is like Kovacevic. Yeah, he turned out great. Going to love to have him. But the timing of that contract was totally unnecessary. That was one of Lou's first principles was if you have time, use it. There's absolutely no reason to sign Kovacevic to that extension at the deadline.
I agree. I have no problem with the contract at all. It's just when you did it. Like, let's wait until we get done with the playoffs. Yeah. Let's see how, then you can weigh everything. But what do you think of Dougie? Ace, I have no idea what you feel about that.
I'm kind of, I'm definitely more on Tim's ship with this one. I understand why everyone targets him. It's the $9 million, but in the end, to just assume at this stage that Luke is just going to pick up the slack and furthermore, then rely on Casey as an everyday defenseman. Young defenseman definitely scared the shit out of me. We saw it with Luke and Nemec 2 years ago. Like, having, and I think for a chunk, were they played as a pair during that season, or was that only last year? I can't even remember.
They a little bit, but our D-core was a mess too.
No, for sure. But even having them split up, it's like to have young, inexperienced guys like that. It's just a risky proposition for me.
It is.
Sure,
I mean, you're talking 2/3 of the game. You're running out a rookie, basically.
Yeah. And again, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's definitely a calculated gamble. I think that, maybe it's something you kind of keep an eye on with the kids if Casey gets some games or see how Kovacevic does and maybe revisit possibly moving off of Dougie at the deadline or something, or potentially next offseason. But I do think it would be a pretty hefty gamble to do it now and just assume that we're going to seamlessly move on as a decor without him. But I mean, listen, if there's a deal in place that makes the team better, I'm all for it. But right. I would say that I am, kind of very reluctant because I just think people are just like, oh, Luke's the man. He's going to do it. And it's like, dude, Dougie's been playing at this level for years now, granted with all the injuries and stuff. But just to assume that it's just going to be like this, well, we're not going to feel his absence at all. I think.
And I do think, and obviously one of Dougie's biggest values is on the power play. And I do think Colleton's power play suits Luke better than it does Dougie. So I do think that probably is a little bit better of a fit. But if we do move off Dougie, I will be fine with it if we either use the cap space or in a trade we get back a good 3C. And I said this before we came on. I think that getting a good 3C is really probably our biggest priority. Like that is easily the Devils' biggest need.
Look, Luke Hughes is going to get a contract, most likely $9 million and over. All right, so you're going to lock him up. If it's not a bridge deal, it's going to end up being 8 by 9 or 8.5, 9, around there. He better be able to step in and do what Dougie does with that kind of money. It's time for you invested in Luke. He's been on the team now. We're going into his third year. Like it's time now for him to play in those big boy roles, which he's done. And I believe in him. The Seamus Casey thing, I completely agree with you guys. My issue with Hamilton is, like I said, it's not the money. It's not the production. I like Dougie Hamilton. And when he's on offensively, he makes us a lot better. But if you have, and I just don't think you're ever going to have him be more valuable than he is right now. And you have glaring needs. How are you going to go out and take care of those needs? Dougie Hamilton's a great chip to have. I do think there could be some issues, running Seamus Casey out there, like you said, on that third pairing. For however long it takes for Kovacevic to get back. But I'd be willing to do it, like Ace said, if it makes this team better. And I just don't want to go through another year. We're 25 games in. Dougie Hamilton's out for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and we have to do this shit anyway, and we don't have anything in return for it. And that's what makes I'm more nervous about him not staying healthy than I am about Seamus Casey stepping in and doing an okay job. Or any other
totally
7th or 8th defenseman, 6th or 7th defenseman, rather.
That's totally fair. I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, you probably are.
Still here,
yeah. My internet sucks. I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna duck out and back in really quickly.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I know other people too talking like Mercer. What do you think about that? Would you want to trade off Mercer, Ace, or you think that he should be our 3C?
Listen, I like Mercer, but I just like any other. I'm not opposed to opposed to trading any player if it represents an upgrade, and I think the team will be better. I think Mercer has said pretty recent, maybe it was the exit interviews, that he prefers to play wing than center. So I think the team will probably, you would imagine that the guy, wherever he feels most comfortable is where he's going to be most productive. We have seen him play both wing and center. I think if he is on this team to start the season, that he's going to get a crack again in the top 6 winger role. But if the right deal presented itself, I certainly would be willing to trade Mercer. Now, again, I've defended him all year. I think after the 22-23 season, he had 50 whatever points, 55, 56 points. People just thought like, oh, he's going to be a 60, 70 point guy. And I think it's a little unrealistic. A lot of people overachieved that season, Dougie included, right? I mean, if we ever see that Dougie back, I'm sure you would love to keep him at that point and get 70 points, whatever he had. But I just think people had unrealistic expectations for Mercer going forward. And he's kind of been like a whipping boy for the fan base ever since. I appreciate what he brings. I do think he has a value to this team. But in the same token, I do think that, he is a little bit of a redundant player in terms of these undersized forwards that at some point with his deal 2 more years at $4 million, he would have value to other teams. I would not be opposed to trying to put him in a package for a bull. I think we need another bull in our top 6. Timo, to me, is not enough. And I would love to see, I just did a video about this earlier today. They're probably pipe dreams, but maybe not for Tuch. But Tuch or Thompson from the Sabres, I think on Jack's wing would be absolutely phenomenal, game-changing stuff.
We've been pounding the table for Alex Tuch all last year. Love Alex Tuch. That's a great guy to have on Jack's wing.
My bad, Tim. I forgot I had to click the button. Though.
I heard that.
I wanted to jump in about the Mercer one. That's all right.
Well, I heard that Buffalo is looking to re-up Tuch. So I don't know if that's happening or not, or if they are going to put him. But you wanted to say something about Mercer. Like my thing with Mercer, real quick, Tim. I like Dawson Mercer. I do not like Dawson Mercer in the top 6. If you're going to put him if he wants to play wing on that third line, then that dude needs a LA Fitness membership and he needs to bulk up. And
not to cut you off, but did you like Palat in the top 6? Or
no? No.
It's at the point where it's like out of necessity. You're like, is Mercer an ideal top 6 guy? No, but it's like
no.
Who else are you putting there? If we do nothing
neither is
else?
Stefan Nason. None of them are.
None of them. There's nobody on the team other than Timo, Nico, Brat, and Jack that I want to see in the top 6 that are on this roster already.
We have a top 4.
We have a top 4.
We have a top 4 and like a bottom 12.
So yeah, there's a lot of freaking work to do.
My show and look, the best availability is availability. The best ability is availability, right? Mercer shows up, he does, and I appreciate that about him. He's versatile. He bounced up and down the lineup, center, wing, back and forth, play a lot of different positions. That's important. He plays power play, penalty kills. The guy is built like a fucking mosquito. Like he bounces off people. Every time he goes into the corner, he loses a puck battle. The amount of failed clears that guy's responsible for, I could count on my fingers if I had a lot more fingers. Like he's just he needs to be stronger on his stick. Don't forget, he was in the box at the end of our last season too. It's just again, like if I'm not tied to any player, I will trade Jack Hughes if it makes this team better.
No doubt.
I'm worried about the excellence of the Devils, and I feel like we're going down the wrong path. I feel like we all feel this with Tom Fitzgerald at the helm.
No argument for me.
Yeah, I mean Mercer. To me, Mercer and and Hamilton have your 2 best value guys right there. But, you have to then go out and identify guys that are going to fix the problems that we're talking about. And I don't necessarily have any faith that Tom Fitzgerald's going to do that. I really don't.
And then the issue then with Hamilton and Palat, that we have to wait till tomorrow if they even move because of their no trade clauses. Like, he's given no trade clauses to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was hoping in the new CBA that was just announced that they'd have like a no trade, no move clause threshold for dollar amounts, so Fitz couldn't give them out to people. Like, there should be like $4 million. You can't get one.
Why did Kovacevic get one? Like, why would you give Kovacevic a no trade clause? Why would you not give yourself an out on a guy that you don't really know where his ceiling is?
Because Fitz thinks he's fucking Dom Toretto, and he's like family.
Yeah, I guess. One way of looking at it. But you're right. He does think like that. It's all about, the culture in the locker room and everybody getting along. Hey, I mean, I want there to be a little friction. I want guys to hold other guys accountable. And I want badasses on this team. I want mean dudes on this team. I want snarl and grit. I watched Florida the last 2 years, and all I could do watching that team is think, how the hell do we get there? That's where we need to be. And we're so far from it. How did we get there?
We have to wait 8 years for Sam Bennett's contract to end.
Yeah. I mean, back to the Kovacevic thing. I did like Kovacevic super early. I just, basically he forced his way into the lineup. Everyone thought he was like a 7th D when we picked him up, obviously. And then the injuries, and it's like, all right, this guy's here. I liked him a lot. I think, unfortunate injury, obviously, and the timing of it. But looking at it now, how do you not like it with the cap announcements that came after? $4 million.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Ball just got signed for 5.35, and I think Noah Dobson got 9.5. Obviously, a different player, but the salaries are about to get insane. So Kovacevic, when he comes back, assuming he's anything like he was, $4 million is going to be a steal for him.
Steal. I love it.
Yeah,
don't give him
that just got 6. Bouchard got 10. Provorov of all people just got like 9 or something like that. 8.59.
Oh my God, what a time to be a free agent, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I gotta go get my gear out and start skating.
That's funny.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
I'm just messing with
you. I got a beer league game later tonight anyway.
I mean, who's on your radar, Ace? Like, who would you love to see them go in tomorrow and try and get?
Listen, at this point, I always want the old school throwback nasty guys. I just feel like, we've seen the ice capades for too long with the skill and finesse and people, speed and all this. In the end, you need all that stuff to win, but you also need dogs. And, Fitz, in a lot of people's opinion, overcorrected. I don't know that I would call it an overcorrection when he went with the heavier, edgier, more violent. I mean, I think the blue line shaped up nicely with some of those greedy guys, Dylan, Kovacevic, and then getting Nason and Cotter for the bottom 6. But I just think you need somebody who's got that, that size, power, and just willingness to do whatever in your top 6. And you look at it now, you're like, yeah, Timo, but is Timo enough? When you watch the playoffs, when you watch the Panthers, they're just the whole team is dogs. They're everywhere, and they don't give a shit. They will go through, run over the goalie, go in the corners, take a hit, and it's like, when you see some of the plays, I forget what game it was. Even Barkov, right? It was behind the net. Someone was draped all over, and he makes that crazy pass.
He's so good, man.
Who do you see on the Devils doing this? I'm like, do you people watch these games and think that the Devils have any guys that are going to make any of these plays? Or back to Bennett, who was my biggest pipe dream. I would have paid that guy whatever. If I don't give a shit, I would have paid him $10 million for 10 years. That guy, dude, he ran over crushed 2 guys on that shift and scores the breakaway goal. Like, his balls drag on the floor. Sam Bennett, what a legendary run for him. Glad he got the Conn Smythe. And Florida, talk about Dom Toretto and family. Bill Zito is the godfather. And back to your point, Chris, about making ballsy trades. That's kind of my thing with Fitz is like, what would people say is his crowning achievement at the moment, right? We know his drafting sucks. I'm not giving you credit for drafting number 1 overalls, right? I'm not giving you credit.
Those were Shiro's picks.
Both of them? The second?
It was Jack and Nico.
And Brat was Shiro's picks too.
You're talking about Nemitz was him, right?
Nemitz and Luke.
Number 2, listen, Nemitz, I hope he's a great player. But in the end, I don't think anyone would say that right now with Logan Cooley or Shane Wright in that pick, we're in a better position right now. I wanted to trade the pick. I'm ultimate win now. After 22, win now. Trade for win now pieces. But Nemitz, okay, that could turn out to be a very good pick, but in the end, I still don't think it would be the best guy to pick in that spot. And then Alex Holtz, a number 7 overall. How to turn a number 7 overall and a potential okay goalie maybe into Paul Cotter. Like, I love Paul Cotter, but if that's what becomes of our number 7 overall pick, and that's just the drafting. So it's like, what did he really do? Oh, he brought in Timo Meier.
That's the only thing.
I love Timo, but that wasn't a difficult trade to make, in my opinion. You trade futures, a couple, Zetterlund. There was no sting to that trade. And back to Zito, I think you're not moving forward unless you make those trades that have some sort of like shock factor to them.
Yeah.
And Zito's, to me, his thing that started the whole empire was trading Huberdeau out to get Matthew Tkachuk. And then what do you know? Three cup finals appearances in a row, back-to-back cups. And then what does he do this year? He gets Seth Jones in season and then gets Marchand at the deadline. Like what? And then sells them all on the family. And they're all Ekblad. What did he just sign for? $6 million?
$6 million, yeah.
My God, how is he convincing these guys to give these discounts? Because they all want to play there.
They want to play there. They get to drive in golf carts to the rink with palm trees.
The most important thing is, regardless of that, I don't give a fuck if it was in Edmonton. They're winning cups, and that's what these guys give a shit about.
Winning.
You know,
they
want
to win. Play there.
Yes. So, I mean, look, the Devils, you make it to 3 finals, pull off 2 cups, guys are going to be taking team discounts left and right to come here. You just have to build it. The Timo Meier thing, that was the only move that I think that he made of substance that I can think of, and that was telegraphed a mile away. Like, we all knew Timo was coming to Jersey. This wasn't like a trade he pulled out of his ass, and we were all, holy shit, this is awesome.
And that didn't happen until the deadline either.
That happened right at the deadline.
We were talking about that for 9 months.
It was exactly what I was about 6 weeks before the trade was consummated. We knew the Devils and Sharks were making the trade, and it still took Fitz 6 weeks to pull the trigger on it. I just don't have any faith. At this point, show us that you're a good general manager. Show us that you know what you're doing and that you can build a winning team.
A good GM, you have to go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Back to the thing about the difficult trades. I think when you look back at most teams that win, there is some sort of significant or at least a minor tinkering of some kind during the season or at the deadline. And look no further. A lot of the young fans have no idea, but for us old guys,
I know where he's going.
The Devils win the cups. 95, Lou gets Neil Broughton and Sean Chambers. Both played pretty decent roles in the cup run. Then 2000, early on in the season, he trades Ralston. People are like, holy shit, Ralston's a young kid. He's going to trades Ralston to bring Claude Lemieux back. Then he goes and gets Mo Gilman. And then as a precursor, it wasn't the same season, but as a precursor to the 03 Cup, the year before, he trades 2 legends and cup winners out in Arnott and McKay to Dallas to bring in Langenbrunner and Neuendijk.
Neuendijk, that's right.
And then in a separate deal, trades another fan favorite, Sikora, out for Friesen. People at the time were like, oh my God, like, Lou, are you sure this is going to work out? If you don't make trades that kind of shock people and maybe send a shockwave throughout the locker room and kind of jolt the fan base into like, whoa, that's kind of a gamble, I don't think you're going anywhere, because if you're looking for just layup trades left and right, they're not going to be there all the time. Not every trade is going to be a no-brainer.
That's why he's got, you know what, you talk me to. That's why he's got to make this Dougie trade.
But yeah, I mean, the dude's also, Lou had the balls to fire your coach 8 games before the playoffs start.
He loved firing a coach. First place, it didn't matter.
I can't imagine Tom Fitzgerald doing any of those things. And like you said, the A-line got a little too big. What did he do? Shipped them off, broke them up. Oh, and they still won another cup. Like, it's being able – here's the thing. It's one thing to say, go ahead and pull the trigger on the deal. Excuse me. Does Tom Fitzgerald have the ability or the staff there to identify the guys that we need? That's what remains to be seen, because the drafts, you're right. He's blown, the drafts. We don't have nearly as much as we should as far as, prospects and developing guys that we should but he didn't draft good. So what's he going to do now? Does he have the ability to identify guys to put in and make these moves for? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow.
Drafting wise, he's done an awful job drafting forwards. Holtz was a major miss. Stillman, like, people are still shaking their head about why the fuck did you pick Chase Stillman with that pick? Mook Madulin, who knows? I could barely say his last name. Mercer, we just talked about. Like, he has not really been able to identify forwards. Like, even Gritsuk, who's coming over now, that was a Ray Shero pick. That was in the Jack Hughes draft. Haminaho. I don't know, but
Yeah,
that's a second round. That's a second round pick. He picked Casey in the second round. Like his drafting record is fucking awful. Awful.
It is awful.
Every core piece he has inherited from Shiro and has actively made this team worse. This man, like this guy is gonna fucking blow it, and I'm like really worried about what he's gonna do tomorrow.
No, I'm with you. I feel like no one has done less with more in terms of a starting core, the draft fortunes of having all these high picks. It's like if you had a good GM, you should have, at a minimum, I think, have maybe win 2 cups in like a 10-year window with those sorts of fortunes and the pieces you inherited. But back to your point about having no forward depth whatsoever, it's like, yeah, how many games, including the playoffs last year, that if you looked at the roster, you're like, realistically speaking, there's 3 or 4 AHL guys playing every single night because we have no organizational depth. And then you herald, and no offense to these guys, but like a guy like Daniel Sprong that was on waivers earlier in the year and cleared waivers. And it's like, that's the answer to the problem. It is pretty frustrating, but I kind of want to pivot to, in terms of current guys and the current team going forward. What are your thoughts about these reports of him trying to re-sign Allen and the reports of Allen trying to get like $5 million a year?
Tim, you want to take it?
Yeah. I mean, good for Allen. He should go get $5 million from Edmonton. Happy trails, pal. Like, thank you for your service. I'm a big believer that we shouldn't dump all that money into goaltending. Like, I think we have Markstrom. He's good. We've drafted Dawes, developed Dawes. Like, it's Dawes' time to be the 1B because we need to figure out like what that transition plan is going to look like to get the Yegorov. Because obviously Yegorov is the goalie of the future. And the way I kind of see it in my head is Markstrom Dawes this year. Maybe we'll run back Markstrom Dawes next year. We didn't qualify Poulter, so I think he's probably out. So, then Malik is the next kind of promising guy. So then is it Dawes Malik? And then is it Malik Yegorov? And then Yegorov and who gives a shit? So, like, I think that's kind of the transition plan I see. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like they have faith that Dawes can be a good backup. But I disagree with that.
Your transition plan is way too long to get Yegorov starting. Like, I can't wait 5 years for this guy to be our number one.
Did I go 5 years? I don't know. I think that was like
it doesn't
3.
matter. I lost count after 3. But still, I wouldn't mind him like maybe on the 3rd year, But Tim, I'm with you 100%. It's Nico Dawes' time. I think I don't understand what the negativity is about him. He's proven from the time he stepped in on a really bad team at 21 years old, when we went through 104 goalies that year, and he was the only one that actually played pretty well and looked like he actually belonged in the NHL on a team that probably didn't belong in the NHL. And
After double hip surgery.
Yeah. And then to step in all the times that he has stepped in, I thought he did well. I think it's his turn as a backup. Jake Allen, $5 million for a backup goalie with the way that all the other needs we have on this team. No, I'm a hard pass. I love Allen. Thanks for coming. Did his job great, but I just think it's time to move on from him.
Yeah, I'm a hard pass as well, but I said it last night on a live. Because these rumors have not went away, I still I don't know what the hesitation is to trust Dawes in the role. And it's like, worst case, if he falls on his face, then try to go bring in a veteran from the outside at that point, or give a guy like Malik or whoever a shot. It is very interesting to me. And it's like, if it's not Dawes' chance now, when will it be? And furthermore, to your point, Tim, like, start grooming him to maybe be the guy for a year or 2 before Yegorov. But I don't want to be in a position where we have 2 veteran goalies for a year or 2, and then it's like you start over with a new tandem from nothing. Like, groom the kid now. And I do believe Yegorov is definitely the next guy. But it does seem like trying to bring in another veteran instead of giving it to Dawes will make for a very choppy transition. But at $5 million, I think it's criminal to even be considering it. And here we are. I think Fitz is considering it. And my biggest fear is that he finds somehow to dump off Palat's money, and then he just hands most of it right to Jake Allen. And it's like, our offense is awesome. When we're healthy, we have no problem scoring goals. And that's kind of where, if that happens, I think the approval rating goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, it's almost like he's carrying around trauma from his past mistakes. Like, didn't fix the goaltending 2 years ago, so now all of a sudden he's going to pay. I mean, if if he pays Allen $5 million, that's going to be more than we're paying Jacob Markstrom. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like,
we're paying $3 million for Markstrom.
If he wants to bring in like a Dan Vladar, like a variable $1.5 million deal as kind of a insurance policy, fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. But it really should be.
He was Markey's backup in Calgary, wasn't he?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I think one thing that's really not talked about enough is goalies do develop chemistry with their defensemen. And, you can't just plug a goalie in and expect him to kind of just go about his way and he's completely separated from the team. Like, goalies develop chemistry with their defensemen, the way they talk, the way they react, the way they read and react to different plays. Like, you need to be able to build that up over the course of a year. And that's part of the development of Dawes, is putting him in with that decor and making sure he can run. Is it a little bit of a risk? Yeah, maybe. Markstrom, he's getting older. He has the potential to get hurt. But then that's what you have Dawes for.
And it's the NHL. It's professional sports. You got to take risks. It's that simple. I think that would be a fireable offense if they handed $5 million to Jake Allen for next year.
If he hands Palat's contract to Jake, we're getting pitched for.
What's the max that you would not want to riot? Let's just pretend for a minute that somehow Jake Allen gives some sizable discount. What dollar amount would you be like, I could live with you giving Allen that, but anything more, we're in the streets with the pitchforks?
I got my number.
Dude, mine's $3 million, but
what's yours, Chris?
It's also termed too.
I was going to say half of the 5. I can live with Allen for 2.5. But I think is too high. Like,
so do I. I want
I think that's too high.
penny to go to forwards. We cannot score goals.
No,
right? I understand it is a risk. If Markey goes down and Dawes shits the bed, cool. But I mean, you're also running a risk by going, we have most of the same forwards plus, maybe a few different bottom 6 guys, and we're just assuming they're going to produce at a higher rate than last year. I think when you look at the team last year, like, for the most part, defense and goaltending was pretty damn good. I am of the belief at the moment that, assuming we are somewhat healthy, that any competent NHL goaltender should be able to perform well behind this defense. I do believe that.
I agree.
And there's been rumors of VTech coming back. Like, I wouldn't be shocked in some scenario if that happened, that he would look like he did the year he did good. I mean, listen, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Maybe they'll get that statue ready for him after all.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll be able to walk around and show everybody his cup ring, though. That's for sure.
Stanley Cup champion, Vitek Vanacek.
Wow. Here's the thing with Tom Fitzgerald, or in general, like, when we got Markstrom, and Markstrom's on 2 years. We have Allen. Like, we knew what the process was going to be, right? The process, and everybody knew this. And I think everybody in Devil Land knew this in management. Markstrom for 2 years, Markstrom and Allen, and then it'll be Markstrom and Dawes. And then, like you said, if Markstrom plays great next year, I have no problem with re-upping him for another year. If you want to give yourself, but for some reason, I feel like Tom Fitzgerald doesn't trust the process. You have these guys that have played good for you. You're not giving them a chance. Dawes deserves that. Dawes has been a great soldier for this team and has done everything you asked him to do and has played really well. What are we doing bringing back Allen? For anything over $2.5 million, I would be completely pissed. Even 2.5, I'd be pissed. I just feel like that, to me, is an example of there's no clear path that Tom Fitzgerald has. When you're sitting here going, oh, fuck, I guess I will qualify Cody Glass the day before free agency, you're still talking about what you're going to do with a backup goaltender. That's not having a plan. That's what makes me nervous. It is way too fly by the seat of my pants and, hope that something good happens. Make good shit happen. Go out and do it. I don't know. No clear path.
Yeah, you're right. Like, and this Glass thing, I don't know if that was leaked by his agent or the Devils organization, but shut the fuck up. Like, just stop talking. Nobody needs to talk about it. Just stop talking. Like, it's okay. Nobody needs to know that.
Fitz does have a habit of offering way too much information.
Oh my God. Like, that press conference after the trade deadline, man, like when he was like, oh, we came in second on someone. It's like, buddy.
Yeah.
Like that is absolute loser behavior.
They pushed they pushed that press conference till around, I want to say it was like 6 o'clock. I was at they were playing Winnipeg that night, and I had it queued up on my phone. I was in one of the lounges, like stuffing my face like a slob with the phone down, watching it, just seething. And they pushed it, and I think by the time he went on, it was like right before warmups, and I was at a table. I'll never forget this. And I'm just inhaling food, watching this, just steam coming out of my ears. And when he said we came in second stuff, I wanted to smash my phone. And then I was sitting with my buddy. I was so negative. He was like, dude, you're the most negative person ever. I'm like, dude, we got Cody Glass and Sprong today. And then they went out and got destroyed by Winnipeg that night. I was like, do you think these guys weren't like that? That was our deadline. Like, you don't think there was an internal disappointment for these guys that were like, bring us some help, even though we're down soldiers? Like, we're still trying to make a push here. And then your GM's like, the best I could do is Sprong and Glass, like, go get him.
Well, and that's the other thing about Sprong Glass. Like, Sprong was on waivers like 4 months before. We could have had him for nothing. Then Cody Glass was on Pittsburgh that had started selling pieces off that January. We could have gotten him in January. You fortify the team throughout the year as opposed to waiting until the fucking deadline fits. Like he needs to stop operating within these traditional windows. And really, God, we're all about to have like a heart attack yelling about this guy.
Well, maybe we will all have a different opinion tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, 12 o'clock, we trade Dawson Mercer to Vegas and Ivan Barbashov's on the team. Maybe we go out and get Ryan O'Reilly. Maybe we go out and get, who else do we want? Alex Tuch. I'll take him too. Sure, yeah, let's go and do it.
In that 3C range, my biggest priority, and this is when you watch Florida play, like Barkov as the 1C, he takes McDavid off the table. And the reason why they're successful is because after he takes McDavid off the table, then you get Bennett coming out. And if that's not enough for the other team, then you get Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand coming out. Who gives a shit what the fourth line is, who, by the way, won all their minutes too. So it's just like they just kept coming after you and coming after you and coming after you. And my biggest fear is that Fitz wants to get like one of these kind of big shiny names like an Ehlers or a Robertson. Those are not the types of players that we need. We need like $3 to $5 million dogs that can score 20 plus goals at 5-on-5, because we bring in Ehlers and Robertson. Neither of those guys are getting power play one time. So they're going to get the Timo treatment from the fan base because they're only going to be scoring 20 to 25 goals.
There's the free agent centers, Tim.
Nick Backstrom, he's dead. Granlund, he's old. Dvorak, oh God, is he the third ranked guy?
Well, this is just listed by their previous contract.
So Mason McTavish, I know Anaheim has a ton of cap space, but Mason McTavish would be a guy that I'd be an offer sheet target. I like him. Ryan McLeod is another guy. I think we should stay away from Rossi. He sounds like kind of a diva. Jack McBain, I think, just signed a contract. Pia Suter, we just talked about. Morgan Barron's kind of interesting. Kevin Rooney. No thanks. Man, it's pretty bleak out there. Look at this. Nick Bukestad, maybe. He's kind of getting old. Jack Roslovich, no.
So you got to trade. You're going to have to trade.
This is why we got to trade. I think Dougie for a 3C is the trade that needs to happen. Send Dougie to Seattle for Jared McCann.
Okay.
I think they do that.
Seattle? No.
Yeah, no. I can't see it either. I feel like Dougie was being saved for a potential Quinn deal.
That's what I think too. I agree with you. That's what I was thinking as well.
My thing about that is I don't know if Vancouver would want Dougie. If they're getting rid of Quinn, it feels like they're signaling that they're rebuilding.
But it's only a couple years left, and we're like, listen, we need to make this money work, and then you're jamming all the other stuff on top of it. I think they would accept it.
But in terms of like the attitude and the kind of dog and players that we need, Dougie does not have that in him. He's like, oh, I played okay today. Took a couple slap shots from the point. Don't give me an A. I don't want to wear one.
Quinn Hughes changes this team. If that was the only move you made, in my opinion, you made this team a lot better. Now, I don't want that to be the only move. I'm okay with it not being a move at all. I would rather see Evan Rodriguez and Ivan Barbashev brought into this team and guys like that. Those are the dudes, those, like you said, $4 or $5 million dogs that are just puck hounds, and they go to the dirty areas. They do all that. Those are the guys I want to see. But I would be doing backflips if Quinn Hughes was on this team. Ace, you didn't look like that. You were too happy about Quinn.
Listen, anytime you could get a top player in the league, I'll be happy if we get him. But the reality is, like, in terms of, on my ideal list of like guys to get, I would much rather get a big time forward than Quinn Hughes. In my opinion, it's like the defense is the last thing I'm worried about, especially offensive defensemen. I understand why they want to do it. It's the whole marketing angle and whatever. And yeah, if we get him, I'll be happy. But I don't think that's a move where it's like, oh, everything's fixed. We're going to the cup now. Like, I don't believe that. I do think those pieces for a trade and the cap space would be much better used on a forward or forwards. Again, we said we have a top 4. I could settle for a real top 5 with a random guy thrown in the top 6. But as it stands right now, we have a top 4 with 2 random guys in the top 6.
Yeah, 1,000%. Quinn Hughes, I agree. He does make this team a lot better, but that should not be on Fitz's radar. Not now. Like, just focus on the problems we all know we have. Don't create fucking issues and try and fix them. Like, there's no reason to bring Quinn Hughes in right now. Like you said, top 4. You're not winning shit with a top 4. He's got to make some moves.
Yeah, you mentioned a guy, Evan Rodriguez. Like, he now that Florida has signed all those guys, they're going to be in a cap crunch and they're going to need to unload some guys. He makes $3 million, I think. He'd be a perfect kind of complimentary guy. He was on that second line, I think, with Bennett and Reinhart, or Bennett and Tuch.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, he was with Tuch and Reinhart.
But he was in that top 6. He's a complimentary guy, doesn't need power play time. And I keep going back to this, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it or not. And it's kind of the same thing with Quinn. It's like there's only one puck, and there's only so much production that can get distributed around. And we need guys in that $3 to $5 million range that are 40 to 60 point guys that are complementary to what we have already in place. Unless we're going to move that.
And if you put Evan Rodriguez with Jack and Brad, his numbers are going to they're going to skyrocket. He'll have career year. He'll have a career year. You will get.
I fell in love with this guy in like the straightest way possible. When they announced his name in Edmonton and they're doing the camera across from him, and he had the craziest look on his face. I was like, I want that kind of psycho.
Or Alex Tuch is another guy. Throw him with back and Brad.
Tuch is the dream. I think Tuch is the absolute dream.
And I like a guy like Ivan Barbashev. If you can somehow get Barbashev and put him with Timo and Nico, I mean, that dude is just an absolute puck hound. I mean, and that's what you need. You would have 3 guys that kind of fit that mold on that second line or first line, however you want to put it, the Heischer line. Those are the moves that this team needs, I think, to guys like that. I'm not saying those dudes, but guys like that. That's the guys we should be identifying and going after.
And if Vegas is apparently going to put Pietrangelo on long-term IR, rumors about him maybe never playing again. Yeah. So they're going to need a top flight right-hand D, and that's why we keep bringing up Dougie, because I think that's kind of the perfect type of Vegas move for them. They're always putting on a show in Vegas, and that's kind of the way I see them, and that's why they're constantly kind of churning guys in and out. Or maybe Tomas Hertl, if he's even available. So someone there would have to be a cap casualty.
Rodriguez has 2 more years at $3 million. What do you think it would take? What do you think it would take to get him in a deal?
Well, they're over the cap right now with all the deals that they have spun. So it would be like the Marchment deal. So like a 3rd and a 4th. I think that would be kind of the marketplace for it.
If they're gonna dump him for something like that, I think that's like the realistic best deal they're gonna make out there, right?
It's perfect.
It would make us so much better.
And I think like the hockey media is just picking up on this, and I want to tell them all to like shut up and stop talking about it so nobody else realizes it.
Yeah,
about Rodriguez.
About
Florida.
Everybody's like, Rodriguez is kind of an interesting person. I'm like, shut up. He was my idea. He's ours. Leave him alone.
That's the kind of guy that Fitz should be trying to go after. I mean,
yeah. He's not. He scored 15 goals last year or something like that. So he's not going to be a 30-goal guy, but I think he fits the need that we have. We have our elite top-end guys and our power play one guys. Like, we need a guy like him.
Quick little story. Like, if you are hiring in a restaurant, right, and people are coming in and giving you your applications, and this guy worked at some pizzeria, this guy worked on some stand on the fucking boardwalk, and then somebody comes in, they've worked 3 years at McDonald's. You're probably going to hire the person that worked the 3 years at McDonald's, because the one thing is that they were trained correctly, that they understand all of the safety issues and all the food preserve. They are trained the right way. That's what you're getting when you're getting somebody that played in Florida. Like, you are not just getting that skill, but you're getting that piece of Florida into your locker room, and that can only help. So, yeah, that's the team. And Evan Rodriguez is the guy. I would be hardcore going after him tomorrow if I was Tom Fitzgerald.
Man, yeah. I mean, if he's going to get traded for something silly like that, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah.
I know somebody that can fuck that up, Ace.
I think I know somebody who can too.
I know a guy. He has the same haircut as Chris.
Yeah,
I've been intrigued by Mason McTavish for sure as well. But is that a guy that they're going to want to move off of?
Probably not. I mean, he's young.
Much about Mason McTavish.
Super young.
Young.
Like
he's kind of 22, 23, U.S. kid. Kind of up, I think 20-ish goals last year. Real kind of.
He had 22 and 30.
Yeah, like he's kind of like leader type of guy. Like plays the right way. Would be a beautiful 3C compliment. I also like Alex Turcotte in LA. He's been hurt a lot recently. For the past couple of years. He was actually in Jack's draft and was hurt for a couple of years and just started to break out last year. So I don't know if they'd be unloading him. I have no idea.
McTavish is an American. Sorry. He's not American.
He's partially Swiss too, which is
Swiss-born Canadian.
Yes.
So Tim, you would like Rodriguez in 3C and Glass at 4C.
I think Rodriguez would be a wing. I think we'd still have to address the 3C issue. Like my ideal scenario would be somehow, some way we unload Dougie to Vegas for Barbashev and William Karlsson.
That's it.
Plus maybe Dougie and some other stuff, and there I go freezing again. Sorry, my internet's run by like a couple of mice in a cage.
You're like in the middle of jazz hands right there.
Like I don't think that will happen. It seems like Vegas is cap compliant, and that's kind of they are what they are. I don't know if they're going to make any additional moves besides Marner, but you never know. Vegas, they're crazy. If not, Jared McCann has always been a guy that I've liked. He has center wing versatility. And Evan Rodriguez. Evan Rodriguez is kind of the number one under the radar target for like a second line wing or a third line wing. Other than that, I don't know. Fitz always pulls out these random ass trades, like picking Cotter off the scrap heap. So I don't know what he's going to do about that.
I just don't want to be pissed off tomorrow. I just want to start getting some good news coming in and feeling good, really quickly. And then being able to see like, okay, now I can see the direction that this team's going in, and that's all I want from tomorrow.
I'm not expecting much, to be honest. I've thought for a while it would just pretty much be Luke extension and kind of patchwork fix of the bottom six.
I think that's probably what's going to happen, Ace.
Yeah, and do you know what he's going to get to say? He's going to say, remember when I said, it's not going to look the same as next year? Well, it's not. And it's just going to be addition by subtraction. Like he just let Lazar, Bastian, and Sprong go in UFA. And he's like, oh, look at the work I did. It's like, motherfucker.
Well, you can also, he'll say we're going to bring the kids up and give them a shot, but and they might, I mean, I believe in that. You have to give these guys a chance to make the team and hopefully they can fit into the lineup. I mean, you've got to start getting some of your draft picks to start contributing a little bit. So, maybe I think it's a futile effort trying to figure out what the fuck Tom Fitzgerald's thinking. We have no idea. Last year we went into it and said, okay, we know he's going to work on the defense. We know he's going to go out and get a goaltender. Like we knew that. And we pretty much knew it was going to be Markstrom. So there wasn't too many surprises. I don't have a clue this year, man.
Yeah, I've said it a couple times. It's like we know kind of the like what needs to go out and what needs to get filled, but we have no idea the what or the how of the way that's going to go down. It's wild.
What are your realistic expectations for Gritsuk next year, Tim?
I hope he gets to 20 goals. If he's like a 20 and 20 guy, I think it depends a lot on his deployment. I'm not ready to like pencil him in next to Jack. I know a lot of people already have.
For sure.
I think it's going to I think that's a little premature.
Ambitious.
Yeah. Look, if he wows in camp, great. But I think 20 goals is ambitious for him. If he puts up like 5, I think we're having a problem again.
Yeah, I'm hoping for 2020, honestly. I know some people are like, 50 points, whatever. But again, is he going to be a guy that, because of unfortunate necessity, is he going to have a chance to crack the top 6 at some point? I think we're going to see a bunch of guys get an audition like we did last year, and hopefully one of them could kind of take the opportunity and run with it. Because last year, obviously, that didn't really happen, and we just saw more just sorry attempts.
But you see, again, it comes back to no clear plan. If Tom Fitzgerald's, we're going to, maybe let's let him play with Jack, or maybe he's our third. No, he should be set as a winger on the third line. And you should go out and get somebody to play with Jack, somebody who's, like you said, a veteran that has, you know what you're going to get. That at least, this kid, let him develop the right way on the third line. Like, I don't want to put any pressure on the kid. I mean, if that kid scored 20 goals, it was 2020 or 2025. That's huge. That's a great rookie year for a third line. Now, but you got to just say, he's going to play with Jack, or you're going to move him up to the top 6. No, get somebody that deserves to be in that top 6, that have proven that they can play there. That's the problem that I see is that his, is he just crossing his fingers that that's going to work out? I mean, that's the thing. I don't understand where we're going with this.
Yeah, and he needs to be power play 2, at a minimum, which is largely ceremonial. I think and I keep talking about this, but what I think people really need to realize is how hard it is to score goals when you get no power play time. We saw that with Timo. Timo has underproduced since he's been here, but that's largely because he got stuffed on power play 2.
And was on the left side.
Yeah, I don't put too much stock into the left-right side stuff.
I do. He played a ton better when he was finally put.
Come on.
No.
When Travis Green took over and he got put on the right side, that's when he just started tearing it up.
He's a different player on the right side. I'm with you, Ace. You have to put him there.
Yeah, but like most pro systems are F1, F2, F3, and most shifts on are I think over 50% of shifts start on the fly. So like there's no real you're not there's no bumpers like in bowling. Like they're circling in the zone a lot. So
no, for sure. But if you watch, anytime he would rush up anytime he had open ice, he literally would go to the right side every single time. So
yeah, that's fair. And look, I personally don't necessarily. I know a lot of guys may have a preference, but I just don't know if it necessarily is that big of a thing. I mean, it also coincided with him. The Travis Green bump, but it's also Meyer March. But I think this year, really was because he got put on power play 1.
No, I think that was huge too. But the fact that, for me, my frustration with that, because tons of these people have smack talked Timo for years, and I've been defending him forever. I'm a Timo guy. Not too many guys bring what he brings in our lineup. Obviously, in the top 6, he's smashing guys, running over goalies, does all that stuff. But his career in San Jose was right side, power play 1, hammering one-timers. And then he comes here and they're like, we gave up these assets to get him. They gave him the big extension. And it's like, let's change that. Like, why would you not use him exactly the way he was used when he was the guy that you coveted to bring here? Right side, power play 1. And then finally, with all the injuries, then he's on the right side. Then it's power play 1. And then he goes on a rampage again. It's like, I feel like it's the Twilight Zone.
And that's what I mean. Like, if we bring a Robertson or an Ehlers over, like, where are they slotting into the power play 1? Because that's where a shitload of their production comes from. Like, Robertson, over 30% of his points came from the power play. Same with Ehlers. So, I'm very cautious about bringing in a guy that needs power play one time. Like Jared McCann was like on the power play 2 in Seattle and cooked there. So that's why I think he'd be a good fit. We just need fucking good players that are dogs, that have balls.
Yeah, we don't need these small, small, fast guys, all offense. And, that's not what the team needs. We have that. And the guys that we have that do that, like our main guy, can't stay healthy. So I don't want any more right now. I want some beef.
Man. And
the club in a tub, Tim.
And Ace, what do you think about this, man? Like, do you think it's fair to start having the conversation about whether Jack, like, is realistic long term here? I'm of the mind that like this kid's got one more season to prove that he can stay healthy for a full season, and he absolutely needs to go put his nuts on the table this year and put up like 120 points.
The reality is, right, they're never going to trade him, man. The ownership group, they're just about marketing and all these little girls and selling Jack Hughes. Listen, Jack is a phenomenal player when healthy, but he's 6 seasons in the league, has never played 82. I hate to be cutthroat, but I think we're already at the point where forget on a season-to-season basis, what is the outlook of his career at this point?
Right.
I think it's a super fair question, but again, I don't think, the organization is actively trying to bring in the third brother, right? This is what the media circus, all, so people talk about trading him and Luke all the time. And I'm like, listen, I've said a million times, I'm not against trading anyone if I think it makes the team better, but you just have to be realistic that you're talking about something. It's like talking about me and you being the starting left and right wing, Tim. Like, it's not going to happen. So I don't even want to waste my energy talking about it in terms of trading him. But absolutely, play 82 games and hit the fucking gym and get big, man. It matters. It matters. If people think like you could be this dainty guy and you're going to withstand the vigors of a season and a playoff war, like, no way. I'm not going to say his most recent injury was because he's not, jacked up or whatever, but it certainly doesn't help. And you see these pictures floating around of him down the shore with some kid, and it's like, dude, you don't, you see another random kid his age in the photo, and it's like, one is a professional athlete, one is a bouncer or whatever he is at a bar. And that guy is substantially larger in every way. So you look at the photo and it is discouraging. Listen, I would love nothing more than for the kid to, hit the sauce if he has to, whatever. Serious training, come back 20 pounds heavier. And like you said, put his nuts on the table. Here's 120 points, eat it, give me a Hart trophy. But is that going to happen? I don't know. And I do think a lot of it has to do with these younger current guys. I don't think they take the off-ice stuff as serious as guys back in the day did. I wish we could hire Jaromir Jagr to be like
they do. I think they take it seriously, but they lift differently. Like they do like band work and flexibility work. And, they're doing like an hour of yoga instead of throwing.
I want Rocky trainings. I don't want to, Pilates and hot yoga. Absolutely not.
If I was one of Jack Hughes' handlers, I tell him in the summer, I want you to attach to Jesper Bratt's hip. Do everything in the offseason that Bratt has done and continues to do to get bigger, to get stronger. That's what Jack does. I mean, every year, say what you want about Jesper Bratt. The guy was a 5th-round pick, okay? Look at what you got from out of him. Every year he gets better. Nobody trains their ass off on that team, I think, more than Jesper Bratt. Like, Jack needs to do it. Dawson Mercer needs to do it. These dudes are just not.
He's been rehabbing every year. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the other
you can't get in the gym if your fucking arm's in a sling. 1,000%.
It is frustrating. I hope that this could be the year it's finally behind him, because when he is healthy, he is lethal. But it's like, you've never played 82 once. You've appeared in now what? He's played how many? It was 7. He's played in what?
13.
8 playoff games.
13 playoff.
He was electric for us against New York. Electric. Like
he only played in that playoff year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 7 games against New York and 5 against.
Okay. Yeah. So 12.
So 12 games. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
12.
Super small sample size. Did well, but show me more.
I don't want to hold my breath every time that kid comes barreling down, and it's his own fault. Like he's hurt himself both times. Like when in St. Louis, when he got hurt, he fucking tripped and went in the boards hard. Like against Vegas, like he toe picked, and like Eichel is coming in right behind him, and kind of just got swept up together. Like he's hurt himself.
The ceiling for Jack Hughes is fucking phenomenal. I mean, he can be one of the top 5 best players in this league, but like Ace said, you can't make the tub in the club, man. I mean, can't make the club in the tub is what I meant to say. The dude's got to stay healthy. And I said this time last year, next year for the Devils to be successful, I said the most important stat next to Jack Hughes' name needs to be 82 games played. And once again, it wasn't.
To see it. I would love to see it. You could probably get crazy odds on that if you could get to Vegas to open up a thing.
I wouldn't touch that fucking bet with your money, Ace.
If they put the over under Jack Hughes games played at 81.5, what would the odds have to be for you to take the over?
Take the over?
Yeah, on 81.5 games, meaning is he going to play all 82 or not?
Yeah. I mean, it would probably be like plus 3,000 or something like that.
You think that high?
I would maybe say I was thinking like plus 1,500, but maybe plus 3,000. I'd do it. You definitely do it with plus 3,000.
I mean, the under would be like the complete
under
opposite, minus 3,000.
Even money.
Yeah,
even money on the minus because 81.5. Oh man,
to piggyback off that, like when he is on, he is ridiculous. Like he could beat you so many ways. Last night they were playing. I forget. It was one of the games in Montreal. He was coming in on 2-on-1. I forget who he was with. He looked at somebody and just sniped one. I'm like, oh my God. It was on at like 2 a.m. on MSG. Like they were showing random Devils games from the season. And he just had absolute snipe on a 2-on-1. And I'm like, oh my God. Like
so much fun.
Because he's been hurt and it was.
I want that back.
Yeah.
I know. So do I.
I want 40 and 80. I want 40 and 80 out of that kid next year. But yeah, I agree with Chris. Like that, I know there's a subset of the fan base that has a distaste for Jesper Bratt, but one thing that kid has done is every single year has gotten incrementally better and improved something about his game, and I realize he's 5'10", probably 185. And even though he put up 80 hits, he's not killing people. But like, if he's engaged physically, that means he's active. That means he's being a little bit of a water bug and being a pain in the ass. And that's important. And that adds up. So yeah, I think the big culture changing trade does need to be Dougie getting out of here. I think he's kind of the Snoopy dragging down the attitude. I'm fine.
Wow,
you talked me into it. You talked me into it. Fuck it. Why not? Well, because I think we could bring in a stopgap like Perbix in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but you're only going to then tomorrow when he gets traded, you're going to be all pissed off and say, why the hell did we trade him?
It depends on what it's for. Like it needs to make the team better. Yeah, and I think we have duplicative assets on the right side. And if he's traded for a good 3C, like Holtz, like I didn't like seeing him go and us giving up on him, but like to get Cotter back, I was like, all right, let's ride with this guy.
Do you think teams are going to be calling on Dougie?
Yes.
I think so. Right-handed defensemen are
hello, Cat.
Hi, Cat. Right-handed defensemen are a very hot commodity. Honestly, I think more people are probably calling about Nemec, and some people are probably calling about Casey, but I think Dougie's definitely getting calls.
What would be your max offer to Buffalo for Tuch? If they were like, just give me your best offer, we'll move him. How aggressive would you get to get him? Because I think I would get pretty aggressive.
I get super aggressive.
I don't know if I would do Dougie and Mercer for Tuch, but I might. Yeah, I think I would do that. I mean, that's as aggressive as I would get for Alex Tuch. I would be willing to part with Mercer and Hamilton. How about you guys?
Go ahead, Tim. I don't think they would have any interest in Dougie. They could, but I think that might have to be a separate thing.
I don't know. I think there's a world where, their coach is Lindy Ruff, and Dougie had his best career season under Lindy Ruff. That's why I think it could be an attractive thing for a package of Dougie and Mercer, because Mercer also had his best year under Lindy Ruff. But Dougie, Mercer, first, a couple picks, maybe some prospects, and get Tuch and McLeod back from Buffalo. That would be an ideal scenario too.
Wow.
McLeod and Tuch?
Yeah, the good McLeod.
The good McLeod. I would do that in a heartbeat. What about you, Ace?
I would get super aggressive. I'm a guy that is definitely super win now. So I don't value first round picks whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it really depends on what you're doing with the defense. I didn't really entertain in my head when I was first talking about Tuch that Dougie would be a part of it. I was thinking more like, Mercer in a first maybe, or something
that in a heartbeat.
More along those lines. But I don't even know with 1 year left. Is that enough to get them to move him? I don't know. But in a situation like if they're willing to take Mercer and Dougie, I mean, I think that's a win at this point. I do like Dougie, and we talked about this at length, but I wouldn't be expecting some tremendously valuable piece coming back the other way. And I would just kind of look at it as, even in a deal like that, where if you are freeing up that kind of money, then you better make it count in a separate deal and use that money. Like, I don't need the piece to be coming linear, directly for Dougie, but have a plan what you will do with that money should you be able to open it up in a deal like that. So if you're talking about sending, $9 million of Dougie, $4 million of Mercer, it's 13. Tuch's making a little under 5. So you're talking about getting Tuch and opening up an additional $8 million in cap space. I mean, if anything remotely close to that could be on the table, then that is a grand slam for Fitzy boy, I think.
Yeah, and Adams in Buffalo seems like he doesn't have an idea what he's doing with his life right now either. So
it's about time we win a trade, right? We need to get over on somebody.
Well, I keep saying this too. It's like, Fitz always does these favors for guys. He did a favor for David Poyle at the Nashville draft, and did a favor for Greer, and he takes third party retention in the Tanev deal, and I realized we got LaChance in the third party deal we did last year for Trent Frederick, but it's like, when are these favors going to come back to Fitz? It's like he's just kind of like the loser at the bar that's like, I'll pay for the drinks if you guys hang out with me.
Yeah, he just wants friends. Really, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's like
wants friends.
Is your home life that bad, man? Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, just calling random GMs. Like, Tom's on the phone again. Jesus Christ, man. Doesn't he?
He keeps calling me.
Hey, Tom. How you doing? Yeah, everything's good, buddy. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.
I'm hoping LaChance makes the team out of camp.
Yeah,
I understand it's probably a long shot, but, who can you say definitively? And as of right now, with all the uncertainty in the bottom six, a big bruising guy like that, I would love to see him force his way onto the team.
Yeah, I saw one of the reporters quotes put something out, said LaChance looked pretty good in his first day at dev camp, so he's at development camp right now. He'd be an interesting kind of wild card to fill in the fourth line. And I think honestly we didn't qualify Nolan Foote, so there's another trade that Fitz fucked up, but he'd be an interesting guy to kind of fill that Bastion-ish role with a lot more upside.
So 6'4", 195.
Yeah, he's a big boy, and he was mean, and he just sits in front of the net and just does not give a shit.
I already love him. Never seen him play, but he's 6'4", 200 pounds. I love him.
I saw a little bit of him in the ball. Actually, I was watching BU, obviously Pandolfo, the coach, and Yegorov and net. I watched some of their games, and you could tell he definitely has the mean streak, and I feel like we have missed that. And when Bastion, a lot of people are like, a couple years ago, he brings toughness, blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, after he got smoked by what's his face?
Lombard.
Yeah, the Lamborghini smashed his face, and I was like, and that was actually the year after the whole Rempe thing. Like the Rempe photo on that's burned in of him sitting up.
Oh, him too.
Oh my god, that was after that happened. I'm like, dude, that was like a soul snatching sequence of events. And then he dummied Siegenthaler. I was like, dude, get some guys out here immediately. That was just the most tragic shift in Devils' recent vintage.
Bastion's a big dude. He's 6'4", 210, something like that.
Fucking puss.
I've never seen a guy that size get blown up as much as he does.
No.
When Lombard kicked the shit out of him. Yeah, I forget what team it was or what game it was where someone stepped up on him and just fucking sent him into the shadow realm. It's just unbelievable how much this guy gets murdered on a daily basis. But then he'll go in and forecheck and try and throw a hit, and he'll miss the guy by about 2 feet.
No,
on a forecheck. The defense would be like, "What the hell are you doing, man?"
I wonder where he's going to end up.
Bastion, fourth line on the Devils.
No, he won't be back.
I don't know, man. There's some charts out there that, praise his defensive abilities.
Yeah, take
I
your charts
wouldn't
and
be
stick them up
shocked.
your ass.
I know you guys don't like analytics, but I do appreciate some of the analytics. But what I don't like is the conversation and the condescending way that some analytics guys talk as if they're the one and only thing that matters.
No, I don't hate analytics. I understand that they have a place, but I also, prefer to watch my sports as a fan with the eye test. And I don't want to have to go back. If I think that, hey, Jesper Bratt had a really good game and I like the way he played, and then some dick is up there. Well, actually, if you look at his numbers, he didn't do great in the expected, all the other bold. Like, that's the stuff that ruins the game to me. That doesn't make it fun. I just want to watch. I want to enjoy, and I want to talk to my friends about it. That's it. So the analytics annoy me.
I'm more that way, Chris. I mean, I do think
I know
some of them.
What did you say? DM, you're like, you can expect my nuts or something like that.
Yeah, all this expected. Listen, at some point, it's like I'm not gonna get excited over expected this and that, and it's like in the end, there's actual production, right? And so if you tell me, a guy like Sprong, whatever, has these many expected shots per 60 and this and that, and I'm like, I don't care what you tell me his expected whatever is. In the end, the results are the results. The proof is in the pudding. The eye test tells me that whatever I saw, and it's like he's not moving the needle. So you could pull out all the charts you want and show me and tell me all these things, and like in the end, I don't care. I do think it has gotten way overemphasized in the league, and I think a lot of teams have these dedicated departments that have, in my opinion, way too much of a say on personnel moves based on all of this stuff.
The team with the most active analytics team is Florida.
Yeah, that's what they say. But here's the thing: what are their analytics? For all we know, their analytics they
that's
be looking at
that's the
is
thing
the punch you in the face meter, and they're like, "That's our analytics."
The dickhead for 60.
Right. So you could say analytics, but is everyone using the same analytics? I'd imagine they're not.
And that's the thing is analytics is used as a catch-all term for a lot of different things. And I feel like what bubbles to the surface that gets used a lot is what you were saying is the expected numbers. And I feel like that, like, I actually like those numbers, but I don't look at them as like, this is what should have happened, which is what fucking expected means. But I feel like it has the dumbest name because I look at it as like, did you win your minutes? If you have an expected goals percentage above 50%, that means you won your minutes. And that should be a piece of the puzzle that looking to evaluate a player. And also when I do writing for the Uncle Puckers on our blogs, I do like recaps and stuff. It also helps kind of contextualize and explain what happened, as opposed to be like, hey, he played good. Be like, hey, he did pretty well. These were the chances that he had. And these were kind of how the numbers went up. So he had a very good game. So that's how I feel like it should be used. And the way teams use them, they lean into a lot of micro stats, which are they are counting stats but they're not like goals and assists. They're like, how many zone exits did he have? How many zone entries did he have? How many times did he give away the puck behind the blue line, and then they compare that on a relative basis to the rest of the league to kind of decide whether a guy's actually good at those little things or not. And I feel like that's kind of what Florida leans into in terms of, hey, we need a guy that's good at like zone exits. Hey, there's Seth Jones. So that's I think kind of a reasonable way to look at it. But you can't pass up the eye test.
Like, well, I understand that it has a place. I also understand with a team, you think about if I was owned a team or I was running a team, those analytics are things that I would want to know because you should have a pulse on your team. But when it comes to every Joe Schmo on Twitter that's going to go out there and tell you, that, like you said, like, well, if you look, he doesn't do as great on the zone entries or whatever. Like, none of that shit. I'm not interested in that at all. I don't care. It bores me. Like, if that's what that's one part of the game that bores me. If you're a manager, sure, that's your fucking job. If you're some dork who claims to be a giant hockey fan, but all you're going to do is sit there and ridicule or put down every little number and talk about how, well, if you like this guy, why you shouldn't like this guy because his analytics and say this or that. I don't want to talk to you. You're a dick. Like, I just want to enjoy the game. That's how I feel.
Tim, what do you think about the analytics stuff kind of de-emphasizing goaltending in general with like, somehow we went from, back in the day, in the 90s, of these horses playing insane amounts of games, including Marty, 75, 77, 78 starts, to now it's like, 55 starts. It's like, oh my God, you guys, they're inhumane. They're going to drive this man into the ground. How dare he play him 55
so
games?
funny.
Are you trying to blow
It's
his
so
knees
funny.
and all? And it's like, and nowadays these guys 100% compared to the Marty era have way better nutritionists, training programs, and all this shit. It's like, no offense to Marty, my favorite player of all time. He was no beacon of fitness.
No,
he drank a
Sprite. He drank a Sprite in between every period.
I think he started 80 games when you're back-to-backs. He's like, nah, hold my beer. I got this. Worst job in the NHL for basically his whole career was to be his backup.
I think that'd be an awesome job.
So much so. Not for guys who want to play, though. But
we all could
make $1 million to sit there and watch the best player of all time.
No, Base is right.
That poor Mike Dunham had in his deal, because he wanted to play, his agent put something that he had to, I think his agent messed up in the verbiage. Was like he had to appear in a certain amount of games, and I think it was like in the 20s. So Marty was such a beast playing all the games. There was a game where I think they screwed Marty out of a lone shutout. I want to say there was like 15 seconds left in the game in the third period. They pulled Marty and sent Dunham out, and there was an appearance. I was like, oh, I want to say it was like in 97-ish. And that's when I realized how cold-blooded Lou Lamoriello was, like really like in your face. And I think Doc Emmerich was even like, yeah, well, there's a thing in the contract, that Mike Dunham.
I never heard that, dude.
Oh, dude, I remember watching it, and I was like, Lou is not playing around. He was like, you'll get your appearances. And yeah, they pulled Marty.
Lou being like, you sure you want that to say appearances? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do appearances, no problem.
I want to kind of ask you a question. Like, I don't know, like the way that the goalie position has changed, like you were talking about. Now, back then, were there just not as many 1A options as there are now, where every team kind of has a guy that back then would be a 1A starter? So because of that, it makes more sense to split them and kind of give one guy, 40 and the other guy 32, whatever. Or is it that guys are just pusses now and they just can't, like, and other than Hellebuck, nobody starts.
But when we were watching the Jets in the playoffs, they're like, oh man, Hellebuck started like 60 games. Maybe he wore himself out. It's like, what a pussy. Like Marty started 121 season.
Well, it's funny because like we were talking one time, like back from 95, I think the first game I ever saw Brodeur play was 94. It was against Tampa Bay. It was a 2-1 Devil win. And in that time from like 94 to, mid or early 2000s, we would go to probably about 20 or so games a year. So probably about half of the home games we would go. I honestly can count on one hand how many times I didn't see Brodeur play. This dude was in every single night, back-to-backs, like Ace, it didn't matter. And come playoff time, he just got better. So I don't know what it is. Is it that there's just good goalies and it makes more sense to split them? Or is it just that, everybody is a fancy pants and nobody else can go and start 50 games anymore? I don't know.
I think it's the analytics people driving it.
You think that's it?
100%. I don't know exactly, where they come up with these formulas or whatever, but in the end, back in the day, Marty was playing a ton of games. All the main guys were Hasek, and Eddie Belfour, and Patrick Waugh, and Cujo, and Nikolai Hobby-Bullen. Like, all these guys were mainstays that you saw in the net all the time. So much so that on some teams, you're like, I don't even know who the hell the backup is, right? You're like, we don't see him, out of sight, out of mind, but I'm just looking for last year. Vasilevsky played 63 games. Hellebuck played 63. Montembeault 62. Sorokin 61. Shesterkin
they're up
61.
there. They're
Saros
up there.
58. This seems a little bit higher than previous seasons, I think.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Still, you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys at 60 games or higher, and I don't think if you ask these guys, they want to play. And
you're right about the analytics, and what it's kind of created is these sort of goalie robots. Like you used to be able to look at like the silhouette of like a goalie making a save, and you'd be like, that's Brodeur, that's Hobby Bulin, that's Hasek, that's Patrick Waugh. Now, if you did that, you'd be like, I have no idea who that is. They're all the same stylistically, and that's because analytics and percentages have been like, all right, well, if you go into butterfly and your pads flare out a certain amount, but what that also does is it puts a lot more strain on the hips and knees that these guys are going through. They're also all 6'5" and above now.
They won't even look at you if you're not.
They're giants. Yeah, they won't even look at it. Like,
but you're right. They are all carbon copies of each other now. I mean, other than the couple that really do stand out, right? The Vasilevsky, the Bobrovsky, the Sorokin, the other jerk off from the Rangers, and Hollabuck. Like, they're all pretty much carbon cutouts of each other. They're all 6'3" to 6'5". They're all there's and like you said, if I was watching a silhouette of Hasek making a save, Potvin making a save, Brodeur making a save, I could tell you who's who. I couldn't do that nowadays.
Yeah,
you're 1,000% right.
It's ruining everything. But no, I had a conversation with Marky at an event, and I guess it was before people realized where he was. So like I kind of was talking to him for a while, and like he's probably my favorite player on the team currently, or at least one of them. Super old school, super throwback, wants to win more than anything, wants to play every game just like Marty did. And like I was getting him a little fired up. I was kind of messing with him. I was like, yeah, what were all these, these medical people? I'm like, you should be playing 60, 65. And he was like, at least, like he was getting all gassed up. But, he's a guy that wants to play every night. He wants to win. We've seen him smash the sticks and shit afterwards, give people little shots. And I want fiery guys like that. I think it's sad that one of our most fiery guys is wearing a goaltending mask and playing goal. I'd like to see some guys, up front with that kind of tenacity. But I love Marky. I would love to see him win a cup here. But, they got to I like him. I like the defense. But I think we have some glaring needs up front. And to Tim's point, I think 3C is a big one. But I think possibly even bigger is a real top six winger. I mean, how are we going to go
equally as important
another season with just the big four? Like you got to add the fifth piece.
You have to. It's just going to be a carbon copy of the last couple of years if we just run it back. But is this the offseason that he's going to think like, okay, I fixed the bottom six and now we're okay? No, you got to kind of, and this team doesn't need an entire facelift. It needs a few smart, good pieces in the right spot. That's all it needs. I mean, I think most GMs would look at our lineup right now and say, I can make this team a Stanley Cup contender with the pieces that are already here.
Tons of GMs would love to be in Fitz's position for sure.
We're one of the best teams in the league until something happened. I don't know if somebody fucked somebody's wife over Christmas or something, but no,
that was back in the 2000s.
Yeah,
we were just talking about
them. But we also those games like October through December, I felt like we led with physicality. Like someone got lit up. There's a little bit of a scrum. Like guys got into the game, and something happened kind of afterwards where they just ran out of gas. I don't know what it is.
I have a conspiracy theory.
I like
conspiracy theory. So I agree with you. And being an old school fan, I love the rough stuff. I love the fisticuffs, love all of it, the big hits. You don't see it nearly as much as you did back in the day. But at some point, I think it was maybe even in December, but if not, it was in November. We led the league in fighting majors at some point. Dylan was chucking them. Kovacevic may have had a couple, Cotter, a couple other guys, but we were leading the league in fighting majors. And then I don't know what happened. My theory is that I think that maybe, and this might sound crazy, but I might be onto something here, that maybe a message came down from above that was like, that's not the brand of hockey we are trying to play. Cool it. We don't want to see any more fighting majors. Coupled with the fact that I do think the league is actively trying to crack down on fighting majors. Yeah. Aside from the whole shit with the helmet and you can't take the helmet off and guys are breaking their hands. How many times did we have fights where one of our guys got tagged with like an instigator or something that was complete bullshit, where we ended up shorthanded after a fight and it was like, oh, now we have an extra. So I think that may have irked Keefe, but maybe a combination of both. Whatever it is, we led the league in fighting majors, and then I want to say it was almost 3 months from that point where we had 0 fights until Dylan fought somebody in Utah, I think it was. But it was like we went from scrums, physicality galore, fights kind of regularly, leading the league. We had nothing for months, total disengagement, and just tuck your tail between your legs. Anytime you expected something to go down, there was like nothing done about it. And it was just like the switch went off. It was like we were this ballsy team. Not to say we were playing like Florida, but it was like we kind of had that gang mentality. Like shit was popping off, scrums, people fighting. And then it went to nothing. And then the team just went.
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah. Well, and you remember when we played Florida, I really got to fix my internet. I'm not even going to bother refreshing again. But like when we played Florida early in the year, Tuch popped Nico, and like our guys jumped on him like a gang of jackals. That would not have happened in like March or April. And even Nico was in there, who's a pretty reserved guy. But like you know, like Siegenthaler's in there. Like Siegenthaler's a menace. Dylan's in there, he's a menace.
They bring everybody into the fold. They bring everybody into the fight. That's what we needed. And you're right. These guys were fighting all the time, and then all of a sudden it dropped off. And when you are a team that does drop the gloves, they fight, they'll hit big. You don't have to do it every night for people to know, fuck, I got the Devils tonight. Go back to the great teams that we talked about of the 90s, early 2000s. Nobody wanted to play us. Anytime they saw New Jersey come in town, or they had to come here, they just knew it. It might not be dropping the gloves and fighting, but you knew it was going to be a hard freaking game. And I feel like we played that way early on last year. And then
that's why I like having McDermott on the bench. Like I know McDermott isn't a great hockey player, but having that threat to be able to bring him in to kill somebody, like that's great to use every once in a while. It's like, hey, watch yourself.
Because you can even if you only played him 2 shifts, people know he's sitting over there. Don't do anything. Don't go after Jack. Don't go after Nico because the big guy's sitting on the bench, and that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, one of my favorite things was when Dylan was chirping someone, and he was like, you want to fight him? He'll fucking kill you.
I don't remember
Dylan.
that.
Dylan's another throwback, and I like McDermott too. I don't know. I just think Keefe is not a big fan, and so we kind of just saw him completely phased out, and it seems like. Tim, you're better with this contract stuff. I think they could bury the majority of his contract in the minors. Could they not?
They could bury him in the AHL, like which look, it's fine. They if they need to call him up, or they could do it on paper, and he could be with the Devils, so it's fine. If they need to bury him, but I think Keefe's main issue is like he saw this team wasn't scoring goals and was trying to get as much offense as possible out of things. But sometimes one thing leads to another. I don't know. I could go either way, but
McDermott will forever be a legend in my book, though. After that thing we talked about it earlier when Bastian just got completely dummied by Rempe, and then Siegenthaler got pummeled. He went out, got McDermott, and then obviously the 5-on-5 brawl at the Garden is just legendary shit. I mean, we thought that 2012 line brawl was nice. A 5-on-5 was just, man, I could watch that over and over again. My buddy who's a Rangers fan was here. And I was telling him, I'm like, McDermott's definitely going to crack your boy tonight. And we were watching the pregame, and I think it was a nationally televised game. And they're like, wait, well, we're just like 20 minutes before the game. Like, we just got word. Matt Rempe and Curtis McDermott are in the opening lineups. We were like, yes, we had pizza coming. I felt like I was 15. I'm like, let's go, baby. Get all the beers
That's
out.
Awesome.
We're going crazy. But I'll never forget that moment. I like McDermott. Obviously, we didn't see a whole ton of them. But, for whatever reason, the fighting stopped. The physical engagement stopped, and the team went off a cliff. I don't know. I would like to see them come back and play mad next year. I think they were at their best when they had that chip on their shoulder and were playing that type of game. But
I'm forever an optimist, and I think we're going to see a much better season next year. Hopefully Jack is fully healthy. Like I said, 120 points. You do that. Get a little bit more production out of Timo. If he doesn't score more than 30 goals, I don't know about that, but
what's your realistic hope for Timo next year? You want to see him do what?
I want to see 30 and 30.
So it's funny you said that. I've literally told people when all these people are chirping him nonstop, and I've been defending him. I have knife wounds everywhere from all season because there's certain people that'll just never let it go, and I got stab wounds everywhere. But I said for me going into the season, I'm hoping for a 30-30 season from Timo. I said, I'm hoping for 30-30. He's smashing guys. He's making plays. He's running over goalies. He's being a menace. I said, with all that into consideration, 30-30 for him is a great season. And when you look, what the hell? He finished at 26 and 27 for 53 points. And back to your point that I kept pounding the table about, I know you're not a big believer in the left versus right thing.
I think it matters for Timo.
Right side and not on power play one for 80% of the season, and he came 7 points off of what now we both agree is the mark, 30-30. 7 points shy, playing on his off wing and not getting power play one time the majority of the season. Doing all the other shit that he does, the people talking smack on Timo drive me crazy. And furthermore, now with the cap escalation, they're still going to talk about, oh, he makes 8.8, whatever it is. How is that not a good contract? I'm pretty sure there's 27 other GMs in the league that would love to have Timo for another 5 or 6 years at under $9 million.
I hate when people count other people's fucking money. It drives me crazy.
I hate.
Like to me, you look at the contracts and say, okay, like with Dougie, like that's $9 million. I'm not saying Dougie doesn't deserve $9 million. I want to use that $9 million for another player. I don't. But to go, oh, he's not worth it. Well, fuck you. I mean, how would you like it if I went to your job and I was just like, you're doing a shitty job? I think you should make $60,000 a year instead of the 75 you make, and I'm going to go tell your boss. Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Ace, do you know what he did? He did lead the league in though. Timo.
What?
He led the league in expected goals.
I was about to say I knew it was going to be either expected shots or goals because
let me tell you,
he went through that cold spell where he was everywhere and just snake bit, and you're like, how? He could have had. I feel like he could have had 40 last year.
It's like, how does not go?
I'm telling you, he could have had 50 if this guy just maybe 50% more of the pucks didn't hit a post or whatever. Yes, he
hit what, like 10 posts.
The unluckiest player I've ever seen last year was Timo Meier.
It had to be. Me and my buddy were just baffled. We're like, you couldn't literally get this unlucky for this streak of time. Like if you tried posts, like random goalies, like getting like their toe out and like getting a piece of it just enough to keep it out of the net. I mean,
I think they should switch him and Brad on power play 1. I think they should put Brad on power play 2 and have Brad be the main play driver, zone entry guy on power play 2. That's
but like you said, it's pretty ceremonial. Do you think they'll ever be at a point where like they try to give power play 2 some respectable amount of time as opposed to like the 25-30 seconds that they've pretty much
I mean, in a double minor, yeah.
I mean, if the first power play goes cold and you need to kind of change things up a little bit, like we didn't score a power play goal in the playoffs, but we did score one that finished right after a power play ended, and it was our second power play, and that was the one. I think that was Mercer's goal. One of Mercer's goals. But I don't know. It's just a thought. And like, there's only so much power play time that goes around. Brandon Hagel is the first guy in 40 years that scored more than 30 goals without any power play time.
That's insane.
It is remarkably difficult. It's remarkably difficult to score more than 30 goals without any power play time.
I just have to say real quick, unfortunately, I do have to bounce out of here right now because I still have to run to the store. So I just want to thank you very much, Ace, for having me on, dude. This was a ton of fun. And I'll keep my everything open because I know you have to load everything. So I'll just click off and you'll be all set.
I just realized we've been here for almost 2 hours. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. Awesome talking to you, man. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon. And hopefully we all get a pleasant surprise tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about tomorrow. So I do appreciate it. This was a ton of fun, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Later, man.
Bye. All right, I'll see you in a bit.
And Tim's still frozen on there.
I'm still frozen. Yeah, I should probably bounce you. I got to eat dinner. I have a beer league game at 10:45 tonight, so I got to.
Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to go put up my my Andre Palat first line left wing -3, 2 bad penalties.
Oh man, good luck. Hopefully, you hit those benchmarks, and we'll talk again soon for sure.
Yeah, man, this is a lot of fun, man.
Good stuff, man. Hopefully we're all surprised tomorrow. I'm losing my voice, I think. I don't know what the hell's going on. But good luck in your game, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, buddy. I'll see you. Thank you.
Take care, Tim. Later.
Bye.
And there you have it, friends. The Uncle Puckers. I mean, that was probably fairly negative, but we all just want to win. We all just want to win. We all just want this team to do well. I'm going to get to your comments in a minute. Wow. A lot of comments. I just want to win. I just want our team to be good. All right, guys. Oh boy, the chat's very interesting. I drank a lot of liquids today, so I am going to use the facilities, and I'll be back to hang out with you guys for a little bit. Still, oh wow, yeah, I'm used to going on later. It's only 8:18. I'm going to get to some of your comments in a little bit here. I'm just going to use the facility. I'll be back from the restroom in 2 minutes, and then I'm going to be on here for a little bit. I don't know how long, but a little bit. I look forward to reading some of your comments. It's harder to read them when there's people on. I'm trying to, it's a little difficult sometimes. It's a one-man show. I'm the producer, engineer, trying to be involved in the conversation. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Go into the restroom. Keep the comments coming. I will be right back. I'll be right back. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Oh, wait. I need my water. Be right back. All right. Special thanks to the guests, Chris and Tim from the Uncle Puckers. That was a good time. I know a lot of you guys at least like would I bring other people on because I'm sure you're tired of just hearing me and like to hear some other people. Let me see some comments here. Oh, there's so many comments here. Let me scroll down to more current times here. Pat, those dudes were dope. You should have them on more. Yeah, I'm going to try going forward to bring on guests a little more frequently. There's tons of people out there I enjoy talking with. I am going to do another live sometime soon, probably next week. I just got to schedule it. Scheduling with multiple people is a challenge in itself. But Trey Matthews from Locked On Devils is going to come on sometime soon, along with Neil from the State of Mind Devils podcast. So I look forward to that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I will post the day and time as soon as I have that scheduled, hopefully in the next week or so. And then we'll, that'll be the flip side of this whole thing, right? Is what the Devils ultimately did or did not do in free agency or in the trade market. So look for that. Cause like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys are, eager to hear from other people aside from me. So I enjoy these conversations and love bringing guests on for sure. John says we all want to win, Asa. I know we want to win. I hope the organization has the same hunger. We'll see. Luke, being honest isn't negative. HBSE and Boozeface have destroyed any chance at good faith. I hate to agree with you on something negative like that, but the track record is a track record. All we can do is sit back and hope that we see some improvements and that the team does improve. And I'd like to think that we are close while it feels like we're so far away. And especially when you watch the playoffs, you're like, can we really compete with the Panthers? I don't think we are quite as far as many of you probably think, but it will require a few of the right pieces being brought in. And hopefully tomorrow could be the kind of the first step in doing that. What's going on, Nicole? That was fun. I like them. Devil Heaven says, like to hear other fans on the podcast. World's Worst Gamer going for bio, otherwise known as taking a crap on the rags. John, he's done call-in before 1 or 2 games this previous season. Yeah, I'm working on a better technological setup for that. But there was a time when I said for people to call in and like no one called. So I don't know. It seems like it's hit or miss. Sometimes people have a lot to say. Sometimes they don't. But I will, at some point in the summer heading into next season, try to do more call-ins, because I do think people like that. And it is another interesting kind of element. Like, you know, I know people like to hear for, you know, many different viewpoints and not just mine. And so I do enjoy kind of that dialogue with other people, and we'll continue to try to incorporate that going forward. Mark Ace, I noticed Nico Sturm was on that list of available centers. Grab him and Rodriguez from Florida. Did Nico did that update? I could have. I heard something about Nico Sturm. I mean, are the Panthers going to lose both of them? I don't know. BC says Fitz isn't making any significant moves. I'm hoping that I'm hoping for something, but like I've said, I think the Luke deal and some bottom 6 is going to be what we see. But I would love to be pleasantly surprised and for something substantial to happen. Jason, we're going to do a free agency stream tomorrow. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm planning on being on here for a while on July 1. Always love the free agent frenzy, and I think most of the news that will be rolling in, unfortunately, will not be, you know, Devils moves per se, but I do like seeing the league-wide stuff, and so that is the plan, to do it live tomorrow for a good chunk of the day. And you guys, a lot of you guys are super, super down on Fitz. It is what it is, guys. I mean, here we are. Here we are. John faces Fitz isn't going anywhere, sadly. Jason says tomorrow's going to be depressing for you. I mean, I'm not one of these people that need to see like a superstar brought in, but I think they have to be the right types of guys more so than a big name. I know a lot of you are clamoring for some massive acquisition, and I get it. I understand why. But if all we see are some depth moves, I at least hope they're guys that could move the needle. I just don't want to see a complete patchwork kind of situation where it's just like we're getting guys for the sake of getting guys because we have to fill the roster. It would be disappointing, for sure. I'm still very curious about the whole Jake Allen thing. Very interesting. BC, Anaheim likes Mangiapane. He's likely headed there. Carolina is going to swing for the fences. Fitz is probably going to stand pat. Yeah, some of you guys are just... Zupamaki, Fitz must go. We'll never win with a Putz as GM. David Chimes, finally 3 people actually get how weak a GM Fitz has been and can explain why. Great other stuff, too. 3 of you should do a show after every game. I don't think they're that active. They do a couple, maybe after some games they do. I forget. They do a couple a week. No, I like Chris and Tim, and I definitely will have them on again in the future for sure. Devil Heaven, July 1. Here we go. SST, need a call in with Yo Holmes. I'm sure him and Fitzgerald are one face. Why are you saying that? Oh, no, we got some. Oh, I'll get there. John Fay, what I don't get is if the owners see that Booze Face isn't hungry to win or hungry to bring any more cups to Jersey or the franchise, what's the point in keeping them? I'll tell you, it's because our owner. That's been a sneaking, and he says doesn't care. That's been a sneaking suspicion of mine. I do think, while I have my many complaints about Fitz, I do think that there are some things that are out of his control. I would have to believe that Fitz did want to spend at least more of the LTIR money than we saw, 2 years ago and this past season, and we didn't really spend any of it. And I have to believe that almost any GM in that position would be pounding the table, wanting to spend the money to improve the team and exploit that loophole. And now they're closing it. And so we had 2 cracks at doing it. It wasn't done. And I have to believe that is above Fitz. I think the owners did not want to spend that money because while it's, a loophole for cap, it's still money the owners have to spend above the cap. And I don't think that the owners of the team were too interested in doing so because it's just money out of their pocket. Kane is off the table, just signed a 1-year deal. What did he sign for? $1 year, $4 million. Oh no, that was his last one. He signed a 1 year, $3 million. Yeah, I mean, it seemed inevitable he was going back to Detroit. Also, I enjoyed the comparison of Fitz being the guy at the bar trying to make friends by buying everyone drinks. Selected boy, I'll just wait and see tomorrow. That's all we could do. Devil having Fitzy make the right moves. SST said, Yo Holmes says to SST, I'd be happy to call in and school you. Wow. I would love to see a little sparring session that I didn't have to be involved in outside of just bringing the parties together. If you fellas are interested in this, I would be more than willing to facilitate a Yo Holmes versus SST showdown right here on Running with the Devils. I don't even know exactly what they got into. I must have missed it. There's like a million comments. Like I said, I when there's people on, I try to get to the comments if we can, but there was a lot of stuff and we were all over the place. And so apparently Yo Holmes and SST had some sort of argument. And we're seeing challenges being thrown out. And I'm here to tell you guys that I am more than happy to host the bout. And I'm sure lots of people would be interested in hearing it. Wow. Justin Smith says, just sign someone. Mark says, well, John Fay Ace, I think Holmes and SST are going to war. I'm very interested to even know what the back story of this is. I will at some point. I'm trying to scroll up, but I'm still trying to stay current here. I'm just curious. If they want to have this dance, like I said, I'm more than happy to host it. Yo Holmes threw out the challenge. Will SST deliver? Will he answer? Yo Holmes threw the challenge out there. Will SST answer the challenge? It's out there. Pyro Gob, I don't want to feel like how we did at the deadline. I honestly just can't freaking take it. Well, I will say the difference for me, the big difference for me is that I did have much more hopes or expectations for the trade deadline than I do for free agency. So it's a little different for me for this because I've said, and again, I would love to be wrong here. I did not expect much outside of the Luke extension and some bottom 6 guys for free agency. And so I'm not going to feel the same sort of disappointment or just kind of crushed feeling if nothing happens of substance tomorrow, because that's kind of what I expected. I did expect much more. I did expect much more at the trade deadline, and that's why I reacted the way I did. For those of you that were around for it, is it just because given the circumstances, I was expecting much more, and so it stung much more when we had the deadline that we did. BC, of course, it's the owners. They're money-grubbing misers who only care about the Washington Redskins or Commanders. Ninja says trade Jack before he's permanently disabled by age 25. They're not going to trade Jack. Listen, when Jack is on and healthy, he's phenomenal. He's a top flight, elite talent in this league and an exciting player to watch, must-see television. It's just we need to keep him healthy. But, for all the people talking about potentially trading him, I mean, it's just never going to happen, guys. It's just not. We're trying to bring Quinn here to have all 3 Hughes brothers. They're not going to trade Jack. And he's still super young. He has time to hopefully bulk up a little bit and, develop into that hopefully 82-game player or damn close to it. Yo, Holmes says, SST, I school you every broadcast in the chat. Why would a call-in be different? Ooh, Dems fighting words. Are we going to have this showdown or what? Pyro says, if Fitz does nothing, then I don't know. Love the Devils so much, but I just feels like watching. I feel like watching Nordique's highlights. So hopeless. Nicole says, host the cage match ace. The invitation's open. I am here for this cage match. We all like a good fight here. SST says, school on what? that you think modern boxing is better than 90s. Ooh, that's a reference to something from last night, I believe. But I mean, listen, I'm tired of the Twitter fingers, the tough talk and the type. Are we gonna get a showdown here? The door is open. I'm just waiting for these guys to accept. BC, if Fitz is the guy buying drinks at the bar, then Harris and Blitzer are making sure that the only beers available are Peel's, Milwaukee's Best, and Bud on tap. Televised. What's up, Joe Cade? 1 to 10 scale, 1-0, 10 blockbuster. What are you expecting tomorrow? I mean, if 1 is literally nothing, I don't expect that because I do think you're going to see some bottom 6 guys. So we don't even have a full roster, so we have to make some moves. So it can't be nothing if you mean like literally nothing. So I'm going to go with like 2. I would say it's like a 2. You're going to see a few bottom 6 guys probably either traded for or signed, but it's not going to be anyone that I believe truly moves the needle. And I think a lot of you are going to be disappointed. Again, I'll be disappointed, but not fully the way some of you will, because that's what I'm expecting. So when I go into it with certain expectations, when they happen, it will be slightly disappointing, but it's expected for me. And so it's different. The deadline was something completely different for me. John faces Joe Kid 0, but I'm hoping wrong in some way. Yo, Holmes, SST, you just said VTech is more valuable than Timo. What an astonishingly dumb statement. Oof. What up, Tim? Thanks for having us on, Ace. That was fun. Prayer circle start now. No, awesome to have you on, Tim. Appreciate you coming on. I hope definitely have you guys back at some point in the near future. Good luck at the beer league game. And then John Fay says, Yo, Holmes. Then again, he compares everyone to VTech. He did it to Markstrom last January. Mark, now we have a Devils fans civil war brewing. This is Fitz's fault. SST says VTech has a 31 season. What Timo has? Oh, boy. This is just getting... Devil Heaven, do we think we have the bottom 6 already in the system? We definitely need at least a good move. Well, I think Juho Lamico is definitely going to be in the bottom 6. As much as some people are like, oh, maybe not. I think he's definitely going to be there. And I think Gritsuk will be. You might see, one of the guys from last season, 1 or 2 of them brought back, depending on, how everything else shakes out. But I think the other guys that the team is, the team is hoping can possibly push for spots in the bottom 6 is probably Haminaho and LeChance. I think they're probably slight long shots at the moment, but one or both of them may have a chance to force their way onto the roster. Alberto, with the free agent market as it is, we could probably move Dougie tomorrow. I would think so. It's just like, dude, is that the wisest move? Now, I agreed with most of Tim's points about Dougie, and I have said time and time again that I do think the team will feel Dougie's absence this season if they do trade him. If there's a deal in place to make the team better, I'm all for it. Richard, I don't think we'll see anything earth-shattering tomorrow. There's a possibility, however, that we see something of substance through trades. There's just not enough money. Yeah, but if Palat or Dougie are moved, and then you're talking about trading another guy on the roster, that does make things certainly interesting and open up some possibilities, at least cap-wise. John Fay says, Yo, Holmes, fair enough, but we all know, and I mean this respect to him, we all know SST doesn't have the balls to call in. Wow. Yo, Holmes, SST boxing, what? Calm your ADHD and stay on topic. This is real interesting. Richard, Ace, can I be one of the judges scoring for SST versus Yo Holmes Rumble? Duran Barkley. I still didn't finish it. I saw most of it. I got to finish it. I fell asleep. But you could definitely be a judge. I guess we'll take a vote. I don't think SST is going to call in. I like the aggression by Yo Holmes, though. It's certainly interesting. SST, just let's make this happen right now. Yo Holmes and SST, are we doing this or what? The people want to see it. We have judges in the wings. I don't even know what the argument started with, but I don't even care at this point. David Chimes, don't buy it's the owners. They've been in the biz world enough to spend money sometimes to make money. Lost money missing the playoffs, an excuse of using LTIR money on Dougie 2 seasons ago. The difference is, I think this is a complex one because you could make the argument that, okay, the owners could go to Fitz and be like, let's just say last year they had, I think it was like $13 million in LTIR money. If they're like, okay, Fitz, you want to spend 10 million of that, what are we making back on that? And I don't think Fitzgerald with a straight face could honestly tell them, like, if I spend this $10 million, it's going to win us an extra round or whatever. And I don't know exactly what the revenue is per playoff game, but I imagine it's probably at least a few $1,000,000. But like, if we spent $12 million of LTIR money, then you need just to break even on that extra expenditure, you would need 4 more home playoff games. I think they would analyze that and say, there is no guarantee. The risk is not worth the reward for us financially. And so unless you could guarantee us that money back plus some in playoff revenue, we're not interested in doing it on a maybe. Yo, Holmes, VTech was so good he got benched in NJ in the playoffs for a kid who can't crack a 900 save percentage in the minors. David, good GM puts his balls in the line and makes a case against the accountants to convince owner to spend. We don't know what happened behind closed doors, right? Is there a chance that he did do that? I think there could be. Now, was he successful in that attempt? Not for LTIR money anyway, but we don't know. He could have tried. John Asa said this in the chat earlier, but you didn't see. If we do move Dougie and Mercer, I think we do it in a package deal, like a 2-for-2 or a blockbuster trade deal. I mean, it definitely could be interesting. I'd imagine it would be easier to find different homes for each of them versus finding one team to take both of them. But I think Tim brought up a potential interesting deal with the Sabres. I think his deal was a Tuch McLeod situation. Would certainly be interesting. Selected boy, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go Devils. SST says VTech, the Stanley Cup. Holmes is crying. Mike K says just need Quinn. I feel like that could be one that could come out of nowhere. I've said this, like, we don't know behind closed doors. Are the Devils and Canucks talking about getting Quinn here? Or is Vancouver still holding on to hope that they could convince Quinn Hughes to re-sign there long-term at some point? It seems like he wants to play with his brothers, and I don't think that Rutherford would have came out and said what he said a few months ago if that wasn't the case. If he thought there was any chance of him staying, I don't think he would have done that. And so it was a very bizarre thing. And if Vancouver realizes there's no chance of keeping him, you'd be wise to trade him now and get the most you can. Pyro, do we have a comparable case for other cheapskate owners? I've heard St. Louis fans say their owners are cheapskates. I don't know enough about any of the other ownership groups to accurately weigh in on that. I'd be curious to hear from knowledgeable fans of other teams if they've experienced that sort of thing, but I can't say definitively. Jason, no, after tomorrow, Dougie's only making $1 million of actual money. I guess that's referring to the contract structure. That could make him even more appealing to teams to take on. I forgot about that. While he would still have his cap hit of $9 million. Let me see. Does this break it down? The way they front load some of these deals and play with the money. Doesn't break it down on Puckpedia. Well, it says $1 million base, but then it says signing bonus 10.550. So when exactly was that paid? I'd have to do a little deeper dive into that. Jason, no, Fitz was never qualified for this job. Mark, Ace, I think you're onto something. Harrison, the owners are interested in return on investment. For sure. I think, it's just a shrewd business kind of operation. I don't know if that is the case now. I'm looking at this because there's a signing bonus. I don't know how it doesn't break down exactly how and when that was paid because it does say base $1 million. but there's a signing bonus of a signing bonus of 10.55 for the upcoming season. Nicole says, we're between seasons. We're hockey deprived. We're itching for a fight. Devils have a bonus to pay Dougie. It matters to cheap owners or teams with internal payroll, I guess, calls, or I don't know what that is. M, do you think Fitz is trying to stay quiet on his potential trades as a way to try and keep other teams away from his trade targets, or just not to show his hand yet? That'd be nice, but it could also be we're not hearing nothing because there's nothing going on. We shall find out. John, my thing is, though, if we move Dougie, do we retain anything or not? I think at this juncture, we would not have to. I don't think we'd have to because there's not a ton. You know, he only has 3 years left on his deal. The $9 million, I do believe, was a slight overpayment in the beginning and may even be a slight overpayment currently. But given what he brings and what some of these other contracts are going to be, like, it's not, though, it's far from a horrific cap hit for a guy like Dougie, given where the cap is going. And like I said, all these other deals with some of these guys getting crazy money, and you're going to see it tomorrow. I think there is a clear path to be able to trade him without retaining, if that's what the Devils want to do. Mark, Ottawa's previous owner was kind of a miser. Was that guy, Malnick or whatever? When they had all that drama with like Carlson and some of those other players, Mike Hoffman. What a drama situation they had there not too long ago. Not too long ago. Joe Cade, Ace, been reading many of our fans unhappy with the potential Jonathan Drouin acquisition tomorrow. Explain. I mean, our fans aren't happy with anything. What is there to explain? Again, the bar is so low for improving the roster. You know, is Drouin being signed as a potential top 6 guy? Is that a bottom 6 guy? Are they going to, give him the classic middle 6 type guy? Drouin, let's see, how old is Drouin? I think he's like 30 or 31. Drouin is 30. 2 years ago, 23-24 at the Avs, he had 19 goals, 37 assists for 56 points. And then last season in 43 games, he had 11 and 26 for 37. 0.9 points a game. I mean, clearly better than many of the players we finished with on our roster. And he seems like, listen, would I be ecstatic with that acquisition? No. Would I be mad about it? No, because where's the bar? The bar is super low. Super, super low. So does he make the team better? I believe so. Is there better options out there? Absolutely. But are we going to be in a position to get any of them? Or even try? David, had to talk to the analytics department to figure out how to improve depth scoring. Jason, I'm pretty sure Dougie will get that bonus come tomorrow. That's interesting. If that is in fact the case, and while carrying a cap hit of $9 million, if the team getting him only has to pay him that base $1 million for next year, that is quite a savings. But let me just see. Yeah, that would be super interesting. If the Devils pay that 10.5, and then the team obtaining him only has to pay $1 million base, then next year they would have to pay 8.4, which is $1 million base and a 7.4 signing bonus. And then the last year, 5.25. So you're talking about a guy with a cap hit of $9 million over 3 years is $27 million. But if I'm reading this correctly, if the Devils are paying that bonus, then over the course of the 3 years, the team getting him, assuming someone got him this summer, would pay $1 million next year, 8.4 in 26-27. So now you're at 9.4 total and then 5.25. So you're talking about a little under 15 million for the 3 years of his service. That is definitely a valid point and something positive in terms of increasing a return or value for him to be moved. Knowles, hey Ace, is that tank top from Bench Clearers? I'm afraid to buy white. Can never keep it clean. Yeah, it is. I said this last night. I have every single one. I like them. Super lightweight. Like the quality. Yeah, this one actually has a stain on it somewhere. It's hard to see on the camera. I get everything white dirty as well. That's why I can't wear white jerseys to games. And I always wear like a red jersey or a black jersey or something like that. But I do like the white jerseys. And I did hear that rumor that they might go back to wearing white at home, which I think I would like it. It just reminds me of the old school days when we were winners. Dougie gets paid 10.55 tomorrow. So, yeah. People have been asking Richard about Pius Suter. I mean, I'd take him. Again, the bar is so low. Do I think that's a magical fix-all of some kind? No. Could he work out here and be decent? For sure. What is his contract? I forget. Yeah, he's making 1.6. So what's he going to get in free agency? Obviously a lot more than that. I'd definitely inquire. But I think something like that might be, what tomorrow consists of. I think a guy like that is a realistic, potential. Now, do I think that's a true needle mover? No, not by itself. Does that improve the team? Yes. Multiple things could be true at once. That is improving the team. Am I going to celebrate and light fireworks over it? No, I'm not. But Yo, Holmes, Ace, we have a head coach who doesn't even live in the same country as the team. How committed can he be? Then again, our GM has... Listen, I've said before, I like Keefe. I get that whole situation bothers some people, but I do like Keefe. I thought he did a pretty good job with a less than stellar hand dealt to him last season between the injuries and not getting help at the deadline and being forced to dress, several AHL players for a good chunk of the season. I mean, I think he may have gotten more out of the group than many other coaches would have, given the scenario that he was thrust into. John Faces, I will prefer Keefe over Ruff, to be fair, but see your point. Pyro, I'd be okay with Druin. Druin, Cotter, Gritsuk. I mean, I think that's on paper at least, is a third line with some potential. Jeffson's bars on the floor. Yo, Holmes, Lindy should have never been fired. Boozeface gave him the can because Fitz was scared to ever give Lindy a legitimate goalie. Lindy never had a goalie over 900 in New Jersey. I mean, it's a fair point, but I also think, again, multiple things can be true at once, that the team kind of hit their ceiling with Lindy, and it was just like more of the same, and it was just time for a change. SST says Druin spends more time in the hospital than Jack. What a signing that would be. I mean, yeah. Definitely lots of injuries in the career. Definitely a concern. Mark, I'm a school teacher, and I have to sign a contract every year. Wish I could get a signing bonus. That would be nice. David says Fitz leads the league in expected trades. Let's get Corey Perry for, I don't know what that says. Corey Perry, I'd be curious where he's going to go. I'd be interested. Playoff performer at the right price, I'm certainly interested. Yeah, we gave Glass and Luke Hughes a qualifying offer. I want to say it was like around 5 o'clock today. The Devils posted it, 5 p.m. So very interested to see what comes back out of that. I haven't followed up on it because I was preparing for this. Yeah, Patrick Kane signed for 1 year, $3 million in Detroit. Knowles, they make a white with green, red alternate. Want it bad, the tank top. And yeah, that'd be awesome to see white jersey at home. I would still wear the red and black ones, but yeah, I agree. I have the white one too, the green and red I have the green and red bench clears as well. Yeah, I have the whole collection. I like their stuff. Damien says, if we trade Dougie, a player like Tuch better be coming back our way. I don't know. Again, it depends, right? I think there could be a scenario where there's not a monster return for Dougie, but it's more so of a move to free up cap space for the Devils to use somewhere else. Now, I'm not expecting Dougie to get traded. I like Dougie. I would be a little upset if he was traded. I would understand why. But if it was up to me, I would not move off of him yet. I do think he has value to this team. I think we would feel his absence. I've said it a million times. But if there's a deal in place to make the team better and it involves trading Dougie, then I'm all for it. Likewise with any other player. But I don't know that a lot of people will be happy with what the return would be for Dougie, because I don't think it would be necessarily what people would be expecting. But like I said, opening up that $9 million in cap space could give the Devils the option, or the ability, I should say, to bring in another impact player somewhere, whether it's in another different trade or free agency. Jason said Luke might get a bridge. A lot of guys taking bridge deals. SST would love that, because he's been saying that. So, he would come back here and tell everyone how much of a genius he is and how stupid everybody is. I think a bridge deal for Luke would be suicidal for the Devils as an organization, because when that deal is up, Luke is going to get paid monster money. So I think it is in their best interest to try to lock him up long term. But if they can't, they can't. Gunnar, how many regular seasons games would you plan for Markstrom? He didn't seem the same last year after his injury, and he still ended up starting 51. Yeah, he may have been lingering or something. I think for me personally, in an ideal world, Markey starts 55 to 58 games, leaving 24 to 27 starts for whoever the backup is. I would like to see it be Nico Dawes. But as long as Markey is feeling good and injury-free, I think he's very capable of starting 55 to 58 games. For sure. Fentanyl Floyd, odds that Fitz moves out Palat. I don't know. I'm going to say 50-50. I think 50-50. I think, obviously, Fitz sees that as, a potential, assuming no retention, again, obviously, $6 million of money he would be able to use elsewhere to address the many other needs of this roster. I'm going to say it's 50-50 that he's able to do that. Now, if he is, then, like I said, things get super interesting, because now with that $6 million, if you start looking at trading other roster players in a deal to try to do something bigger, or at least on the bigger end of the spectrum, you have potential. Even Palat and Mercer's $4 million is $10 million. That definitely gives you a pretty nice cushion of cash to try to acquire somebody. John Fay says, if we do move Dougie Ace, who would you expect for us to get into return? Same thing with Mercer. I think it's highly circumstantial. Like I said, because of Dougie's contract, I do think there are teams that would love to have him. I don't think you're going to get a monster return. And so I don't even know, maybe a bottom 6 guy, or if there's a team in a weird situation with maybe I don't know. That one's tough for me, but I could see him potentially being moved, like I said just 2 minutes ago, in more of what looks like a salary dump-ish kind of deal, because then the Devils are able to use that money in a different deal to bring in something substantial. And so while it wouldn't directly be Dougie for whoever, in the end, trading Dougie in one of those types of deals could open up the money for them to then make another deal that is in, that's on the table. In terms of Mercer, I think Mercer, I like Mercer. I think he could be a big piece, or a starting piece of a deal for an upgrade in the top 6. And I think that's the most viable, in my opinion. The most viable path would be somehow getting rid of Palat's $6 million, and then you trade Mercer in a separate deal, plus prospects or picks, whatever it is, to try to bring in a top 6 guy. And I would love to see it with Buffalo to try to get Tuch. I mean, Thompson's the crazy dream, but I do think Mercer plus a piece or two if that could get you Tuch, I think that's a win. Mark says Fitz leads the league in coming in second. Samuel Fitz thinks impact players shown in additional demolition derby. John Fay, Fitz leads the league in being able to do something because all he can do is nothing but drink. Luke would never score more than 50 points. Oh my God, I would love to take that bet, SST. If there was a way to guarantee I would get paid on the bet, I'm 100% on the over. You don't think Luke ever scores more than 50 points? He's already had 47 and 44. You don't think Luke Hughes ever gets more than 50 points? That might be your worst take ever in a long line of bad takes. Mason, you think Vancouver pulls a tampering card on the Devils if a Quinn trade happens? Saw stuff about the league looking to make an example out of a team. No. How are you even asking that, Mason? How are they going to – Jim Rutherford had a press conference and was like, told the whole world that Quinn wants to play with his brothers. How in the world are you going to try to implicate the Devils in tampering when that guy went up there on the podium at the end of the season, at their end of season press availability, and was like, I don't know what we're going to do with Quinn Hughes. He wants to play with his brothers. Maybe I'll try to bring them here. Like, that was tampering by him. I don't know how on earth you could even remotely try to paint the picture of the Devils tampering. Jason, no, Bouchard just took short-term deal. What do you think his next deal looks like? What did he sign for, like 10.5 or something? $4 years, $42 million. Yeah, 10.5. It depends how much more the cap goes up. By then, I mean, listen, in 4 years from now, the money could be silly. It's going to be like Monopoly money. I don't know. His next deal could be $15 million. There's no way to really know. It's going to be absurd. Could easily be $15 million. Mark, Buffalo should trade for Dougie. The Sabres have a lot of young D-men, and Dougie would be a great mentor. Well, they're paying Dahlin a ton of money as well. And so, you know, do they want to invest? Yeah, Rasmus Dahlin's getting paid $11 million a season. My God. Yeah, they're going to want to pay two defensemen $20 million. I mean, I don't know. Samuel Fitz needs to find a team trying to reach the salary floor. Basic guy, are you concerned at all that if and when we trade Mercer and/or Casey Nemitz, that we have few desirable assets to improve the team with down the line? Yes and no, but I've said this for at least a few weeks now for sure, is that is why it is oh so important that the next move or substantial moves are the right pieces and not just making a deal for the sake of making a deal. Because we don't have unlimited assets and because there's not unlimited cap space, there's only so many of these bigger type moves that you could make, right? And so obviously Mercer is one of our most valuable pieces. Casey, Nemitz, the next couple years, first rounders. And so once you do part with those pieces, you've shot your bullets. That's it. The bullets are gone. You got nothing left. And you're going to be kind of handcuffed in terms of big moves for the foreseeable future, which is why I'm not concerned that they're not going to have any pieces to improve the team down the line. I'm just concerned that if and when they use those assets in a deal, that they bring in the right type of guy or guys, because you're not going to have too many other chances to make those types of moves. And that's why I was saying with Robertson, I do think Robertson obviously improves this team, would be a great add to the top six, but is that the guy that I kind of want to use all of our remaining bullets on? I don't know that I would. If we did get Robertson, I would be happy, but I will always, ask the question, was there a better usage of the assets and the cap space to improve the team than Robertson? And I think there could be. And I would love to see a guy like Tuch, Kyrou, obviously, but it's just something to be cognizant of. There's not unlimited moves to be made that are substantial. And so you have to really make sure that the next big move you make using these pieces in a trade is the right type of fit because you're not going to have another chance to make a bigger move probably for quite some time, or at least without disrupting the core. And obviously heading into next offseason, that could be something that's kind of at the forefront, is questions surrounding the core again. Depending on how the season goes, are people talking about possibly dismantling the core or moving on from any individuals within the core? I'm hoping that we get the right pieces around them and they could be cup champions here. Would love to see this core win a cup. Dubs is like, Fitz has succeeded in making this a mushy middle team, third in Metro or wild card with first round exits. That's the ceiling for this roster, and Fitz doesn't have the balls to change the roster. It kind of seems like we're stuck in sand right now a little bit. I would like to see a real push, and I think that could back to what I was talking about with Tim and Chris when they were on. Sometimes the trades you have to make are tough ones, and we haven't really seen too many of them just yet in this administration. And I don't know. At some point, we may need to see it. But as far as tomorrow goes, I'm hoping just to see something to push the team forward. It doesn't need to be a superstar per se. I'll never be upset if that did happen, but it's got to be the right pieces. Dougie and Plot getting traded depends on what teams they put on their trade list. If they don't want to waive the move clause, then nothing Fitz can do. Completely agree. I would love to see their lists. It would be great. I wish they made those public. That would certainly make everything way more interesting. If we knew what the lists were, what teams were on them, that'd be super interesting. John Fay says, SST, you don't think Luke will ever score 50 points or more? I think that's just an insanely horrible take. Insanely bad. Samuel, I fear this year will be a carbon copy of last year. I just don't see much change in the next few days. Again, you're going to see some change. I don't know how much it's going to really be. Obviously, Hall is not coming back. There'll be some other guys in the bottom six that are swapped out, but they could very well be lateral-ish type moves without a clear-cut upgrade really anywhere in the lineup. But I do think, and I hate to, get high on the hopium, as they say, but with much better health fortunes next year, that could be a big difference maker in itself. But that alone, I don't think is nearly enough whatsoever. Obviously, I want to see the team improved outside of just hoping to stay healthy. But it starts with staying relatively healthy, and then we need to add pieces. Luke with a full season of power play 1 and top line minutes can rack up a crazy amount of points. I agree with you. 50 points as a career high for SST is crazy. I mean, we going to get this bout or what? I'm tired of talking about this. Can we get SST and Yo Holmes on and just settle this like a duel? I don't want to talk anymore. I'd love to sit back and just watch this thing. Yo Holmes said he was in. What's up, SST? You're going to take the challenge? Congratulations on another. SST said, just like your Lindy record season, hence he should never have been fired. You won the stupidity top prize. Lindy set the record, you goof. Samuel, I don't see room for both Nemitz and Casey. There is a world where there could be, especially if Johnny Kovacevic is going to be out for some time. And it's by all reports, whatever his, lower body injury or whatever, I think they were somewhat vague about it. It seems like he could easily miss a few months to start the season. And that will certainly open up opportunity once again on the blue line for your New Jersey Devils. And we potentially could see an opening night lineup that features both Shimo, Nemitz, and Casey. Love both of these guys. Think they're both going to be great defensemen in the league. But I'm not going to lie. I do feel a little squeamish about going into the season with both of them as full-time defensemen. A little bit. The one Axolotl. Hi. Hello. Eddie says, I'd like if we get Robertson or Ehlers, fingers crossed. I'd much rather have Robertson, but I'd much rather have Tuch and Kyrou. Those contracts, long-term, signed up for very good values. John Fay, I've seen people posting that the Devils are one of the teams interested in looking at Robertson, possibly. Yeah, I would like him here. I just think that there are better usages of the assets and the cap space And after this year, he's a free agent. He's going to command a fortune. You know, if Robertson's looking for 12 or 13 million bucks after this one season, right? And you have to pay him 12 or 13. You look at a guy like Kyrou, who has 6 years left at 8.125. I think you have to look at that and you're like, that is a massive cap savings. I think it makes Kyrou much more attractive, in my opinion. Paha, no guts, no glory. Hamilton, Casey, and pick for Quinn. That's Tuch and Thompson. Heavier, edgier, more violent. Ballsy GM required, though. Well, you think they're gonna trade for? Oh, you're saying trade for Quinn and then trade all three of them out of here? Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. I can't get on board with that. That's a little wild, even for me. Mark says Fitz has made it so that we either have assets down the line or Nico down the line. Nico isn't going to be happy with having good assets. Win now, guys. Win now. Nico has 2 years left. Show him something, because as of late, he hasn't been shown much. He's been here for 8 seasons, a single playoff round win, 7 total playoff games won. If that doesn't make you want to throw up, I don't know what will. That is a nauseating statistic, and that goes for Bratter as well. They broke into the league together in 2017-18. They've played in the playoffs 3 times, 3 playoff appearances, got smacked by Tampa Bay in the first round in 17-18, and we only got there because Taylor Hall had a Hart Trophy season for the ages and dragged us to the playoffs. Dusted in 5 by the Lightning. Don't see the playoffs again until 22-23, where we obviously had our best season anytime recently. A franchise record, 112 points, beat the Rangers in a beautiful 7-game series before getting crushed by the Hurricanes, a constant thorn in our side in that second round in 5 games. And then the Hurricanes again in this 24-25 season ousted us in 5. And so when you look at the careers thus far of Bratter and Nico, it's been a lot of heartache and pain. A lot of bad seasons, 3 playoff berths, which resulted in a single playoff round win and 7 total playoff games won. That's brutal. Brutal. Samuel, I feel like this team went down the wrong road years ago. The core is wrong and they won't change it. More balls needed. I think there's a world where they could bring those types of complementary pieces in while keeping the core intact. Now, like I've said, I'm not against trading anybody if it makes the team better. And if that includes a piece from the core, and it's a good deal that you have to do, then you got to look at it. But I would like to see this core, if possible, get one more crack at it this upcoming season. But I think at that point, then the hard questions are going to have to be asked. But I think they deserve at least one more, the last dance, if you will. Is 25-26 the last dance for this core? It very well could be. But I do think you have to put them in the best position to succeed by getting the right depth pieces and getting another top 6 winger somehow, some way. You got to do it. We have a top 4. I could live with a top 5 and kind of a throw-in 6th as the top 6, but to have 2 throw-ins in the top 6, you're not, and the right types of guys, obviously. Heavier, edgier, more violent, bring the script. We need some warriors. It's time to make a push. These next 2 seasons should be the seasons where the Devils are truly trying to win a cup. Gunnar Marks, we're 100% in purgatory. We have the top-end skill guys and now the goalie, but compared to any proven contenders, our bottom 6 is awful. Can't disagree there. Destination JD, top 6, Hughes, Nico, Timo, Bratt, Tage, and Ace. How many points you putting up and who's on your line? Oh, boy. I certainly like that top 5. Hughes, Nico, Timo, Bratt, Tage, and Ace. I'd like to think I could put up at least 30 points in playing in any combination of that top 6. Put me on the right wing. Let me go out in front and tip some pucks and wreak havoc on the goalie. M said he had 50 points with like a half or quarter season of power play 1 and top line minutes. I don't know. Who's that in reference to? Alberto says trade Dougie and Plot, sign Besser, sign Roslovic, re-sign Luke and Glass. I don't think I'm Besser wouldn't really do it for me, and I think he's going to get a lot of money as well. I think he's projected to make like $8.5 million. Again, this is where I think, because of cap space and because of what the contracts are going to be for the guys getting signed in free agency, I think the best course of action, if Fitz is going to do anything to shake up the team, is to get somebody in trade with years left on their deal. Kyrou is signed for 6 more years at $8.125 million. I mean, that's an insanely good deal. Tage Thompson, I think I talked about it in an earlier video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But I think his deal's like $7.1 million for 5 more years. I mean, my God. What theft. Complete theft. Brett B, I honestly feel if you figure out how to get the bottom 6 going under Keefe's system, this team is pretty damn strong. Add a top 6 shooter with some balls and we're at the door. I like where your head's at. Like I said, in some ways we feel so far away, but it's not as far as people think. I think we're a couple of the right guys away from at least being a legitimate contender. John Fay, hit that like button, you bums. Thanks. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. Samuel, if you were Nico and you had a chance to go to a real contender, what should you do? I mean, you guys know where I'm at with this. I obviously hope we see Nico be a lifelong Devil, have his jersey retired here, hopefully raise some cup banners of teams that he's a captain of. But I certainly would not be surprised if he, in fact, is looking or when the time comes, potentially looks at other destinations where he thinks he could truly win. I mean, it is what it is. Jason says, if we miss the playoffs this year, then you have to make some hard decisions. First of all, Snow, that's crazy. Now you're talking about missing the playoffs. If we miss the playoffs this year, I have no words. I don't even know what I would do. That would be just completely insane. Missing the playoffs would be unacceptable. Anything short of, I think at this, anything short of winning a playoff round, and even that, to me, I wouldn't feel great about it. I mean, obviously winning a round is better than not making the playoffs or not winning a round. But like in the next 2 years, I feel like this team has to make the conference finals minimum or bust. And really, they should be trying to win a cup. Their best chances in these next 2 years, in my opinion. David, Casey is 50% to even ever break the NHL. That's most good, not top-tier prospects. Anyone thinks he's ready now doesn't understand hockey. Another season, Utica learn a semblance of D. I will tell you, I don't know that he's fully ready either, but I could see a scenario where he's in the NHL next season full-time, or at least to start the season, whether it's with the Devils or another team. I do think if he was traded to another squad, there's a very good chance he gets thrust right into the lineup. But I do agree, especially his D-zone play being a little undersized. We saw some, times where other teams' forechecks gave him a pretty hellacious time, and he had difficulty kind of moving the puck. Again, super young. I do think he's going to develop into a great D-man, but I also think, he's one of probably our more valuable pieces in a potential trade to bring in some offensive help, and I think it's something that should be considered given where we are and the struggle to score goals next year. The top 6 has to be nasty. Yeah, I would love to see it. Add one more nasty guy to the top 6, and I'm feeling a lot better about it than I am today. David, can you produce a running with the Devils Fitz dunking highlight reel? I mean, you guys are in the comments are getting nastier than me now. I mean, wow. I'm trying to stay positive. You guys are like dragging me down. Zupamaki, I just want to win. I saw the glory days from 94 to 05, and I missed the old days. Just win and please get rid of Hamilton. My God, he sucks. I have to disagree with you there. I do think Dougie has value to this team for sure. We've talked about it today. I've talked about it last night. I've talked about it plenty of times. M says, Alex, the expectation is Fitz does some small bottom 6 and depth signings tomorrow and doesn't make trades with Dougie, Palat, Mercer, Nemitz, and/or Casey. Reaper Crew Garage, I think Gritsuk has the potential to play top 6 minutes on Jack's line. I think it's possible, assuming, barring that no legitimate top 6 guys are brought in at any point before the season, just because of where we are in terms of offensive depth, I think that definitely could be a possibility. Or if not long-term, I think he'll at least get an audition and a chance to prove his worth on the top 6. Now, again, in an ideal world, we would have a legit top 6 where we don't even have to try this experiment. But as it stands today, again, we have a top 4. Can he be one of the guys tried out in the top 6 along with a guy like Mercer? And then maybe we see it again with Nason. Who knows? But I'm just hoping Gritsuk can be a legitimate third line type player. And if he warrants top 6 minutes and can produce there, I mean, that would be a great surprise. A great surprise. Jason says Nico should be threatening the organization. If they don't improve the team, he's out. I don't take him to be that type of guy, but I mean, listen, I wouldn't mind it. Hold their feet to the flames a little bit. Try to get something moving. I can't picture him doing that, but we don't know. Behind closed doors, he may have aired some of his frustrations or issues with the way things have been going over the past really long time. I mean, wow. Richard Kyrou would be a great pickup, not only as a player, but long-term. You can't give up assets for Robertson, who would probably be a one-year rental, then he's out of here. Kyrou deal would be ideal. I don't think they're crazy. I don't think they would trade for Robertson unless they knew they could re-sign him at something they were comfortable with. But it is going to be substantially more than Kyrou's deal with 6 years left at 8.125. After this year, I think Robertson's going to be easily 11, 12, maybe even $13 million based on what we see in free agency and the cap continually going up. And so I'm on record saying the best course of action, trade for a guy with a lot of years left on his deal at a good cap number, and that's going to put you in the best position for success. M says if we miss the playoffs, Fitz is 1,000% gone. I can't say definitively, but I would say if we miss the playoffs, I'm going to say 97% he would be gone. But if there's injuries and other things that happen, I could see a world where he would be safe. John Fay, if we missed the playoffs this year after sneaking in last year and getting in 2 out of 3 years before that, then Fitz 100% needs to get the boot. Jason, no, I hate to say it, but we barely made the playoffs this year. Obviously, the definition of backing in. Khalil, ace my late. Fitzgerald tendered Luke and Cody contract. Yes, that happened at around dinner time, or at least that's when the Devils announced it. Devil Heaven, what will Nico's next contract going to be? It's going to be, I mean, obviously a lot depends on when he does the next 2 years, but I think at a minimum in 2 summers from now, you're talking about easily $12 million, maybe more annually. Add 4 nasty guys to the top 6. Gunner, Ace, I hope you're right, but we'll have to beat Carolina and or Panthers head-to-head to get to a cup final. I think we're a few players from truly matching up. I agree, but guys are out there. It's not an impossible feat. And while I don't want to celebrate, regular season games, because obviously the playoffs is a totally different animal, it was somewhat encouraging that we did go into Florida and beat the Panthers back-to-back games in their rink in November. Again, they turn it up to a different level. They become a different type of machine in the playoffs. But with a couple of the right tweaks to the lineup, with a little more snarl brought in, some of that scrit, I think the Devils could at least give the Panthers a little trouble. I don't think they would just run us over. John, as you said earlier, Ace, I think LeChance deserves a chance. Well, we're going to see. That's one of the guys to keep an eye on. I'm going to do a video. Well, there's going to be a bunch of videos coming out in the next couple of weeks, but he's a guy that I think could potentially force his way on to the opening night lineup or opening night roster as a result of a good showing in training camp and a preseason. Mark says this team can't win a cup with 4 NHL forwards. I mean, they have more than 4 NHL forwards, but they only have 4 top 6 at the moment. Zupamaki, Nico's next contract, no more than 9. You're out of your mind. You are out of your mind. He's getting way more than $9 million. Way more. That's my fear, is that Fitz is going to mainly focus on bottom 6 and take a gamble on Gritsuk is going to be our top 6 forward. I don't think Fitz has him penciled in a top 6 role at the moment. I do think he has him kind of starting the season in a bottom 6 with the hope that he can fill in or at least earn a spot. I'll say that he can earn a spot on the top 6, which again is flawed, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Would love to see a legitimate top 6 guy brought in. Jason, I wonder what Pittsburgh wants for Raquel. I think he's only making $5 million. He would garner a haul. He does have, let's see. I hate this website. So he's got 3 years left at $5 million. 3 years left at $5 million. He's 32. Very good contract. 70 points in 81 games last year. Yeah, some of you guys were talking about him last season. I would certainly be interested. I'm afraid of what they might ask for him. Supposedly, I think last year at the deadline, they were asking a ton for him, but it's a guy you should definitely make a call on. It's a guy you definitely should make a call on. James, I'm also late. What's going on with Luke? He got a qualifying offer. It's kind of the first step in the process. I'm sure it's not an offer he's going to take, and maybe, I don't know. It's part of the process. I'd be so curious to know what the offer was, but I think he's gonna probably look to get more money than whatever that qualifying offer was. I wish they made that public as well. Alberto says Nico is going to get the Jack Eichel. No, I think he's going to get more than $10 million too. I think he's going to get more than $10 million too. It's in 2 years from now with an even higher cap. Jason, no, Florida flipped the switch when the playoffs started. Yeah. They go into just completely insane war mode. And they get it done. Winners, Warriors, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Zito, what a gangster. And he gets them all back this summer. Ekblad, he signed Bennett, I don't know, a few days ago. And today he gets Ekblad at a team friendly. Gets Ekblad on a team friendly. And gets Marchand at a discount. 6 years, kind of strange. But again, age is just a number. People are going to talk shit about the 6 years. They're going to win at least 2 more cups with these guys. I'd have to think. At least 2 more. Cisco Kid, nice shirt. I was thinking of getting one for the South Florida Heat. Yeah, I highly recommend. Highly recommend it. Bench clears. Great for the summer. Would you be opposed to bringing in Kuznetsov on a low AAV deal? No. No, I wouldn't. It's got to be the right price, but I'm I'd be curious what a low AAV deal would look like for him. John Fay, can I also say, Ace, I think I saw a post saying that Boston is taking calls on Zach. Do you think he'd probably want to come to the Devils? That's an interesting one. That one I couldn't predict whether he would want to come back here or not. John Fay, for anyone asking, was in a Devils group on Facebook. Kyrou was traded to the Habs. Did that happen? I think that's a rumor. That's a rumor. Stop writing fake crap, SST. Mark, Fitz will add a couple of bottom six in BS about Gritsuk and LeChance being an upgrade for the top six. I mean, LeChance is definitely not going to be in the top six. I think he's a hopeful for the bottom six, but I would love to see a real top six guy brought in, obviously. Alberto, regardless of anything, Fitz needs to pick up 3 forwards this offseason. Khalil, so Ace, you basically saying it's my take some time to sign Luke that did to Mercer. I think you might see a very similar scenario where it doesn't get hammered out until close to training camp. I hope it just gets over with sooner than later, but it's possible that it could be a very similar situation we saw last summer with Dawson. So that Kuznetsov and Gusev want to return to the NHL. Oh, the goose is loose. The goose is loose. Richard says Montreal is just showing interest. It is not official. I'm sure there's tons of teams showing interest. The weightlifting lab, what's going on? Other teams have little cap but find a way. Yeah, when there's a will, there's a way. Teams find a way to get it done. Dougie for Quinn in a first rounder. There's zero. Dougie for Quinn. Yeah, no. I think some people would be insanely surprised by, shocked what it would take to get Quinn Hughes early, and it would be a ton. Marty B. Ehlers would be nice, but I see him in Winnipeg quite a bit. Guy has mad skills, but he's made of glass. I'm not in on him. Go get me Tuch. Would love Tuch. Luke needs to sign for the same as what Jack did. Not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. The cap was totally different then. When Jack signed that deal to now, night and day. Night and day. There's no chance he signs for $8 million. He'd be a hero if he did, because that's a super, super team-friendly deal. But I can't see it. I think at this point, I hate to say it, I think like $9 million would be a massive victory for the Devils. Yeah, I think even at $9 million on a long-term deal, that would be perceived and in reality be a massive, massive win for the Devils. But I'm curious to see what it is. I'm still hoping it's closer to 8.5 or 9. I'm a little nervous that it's going to be more, especially when you're seeing some of these other deals now that aren't going to really go, help the Devils' case. Noah Dobson got 9.5. You're going to see defensemen get paid. And so you easily, as Luke's agent, you're like, whoa. We're willing to maybe give a little discount, but we're not trying to give a massive discount. And I think at this juncture, it would be justified to even ask for like 10.5 on a long-term deal. And that's not leaving meat on the bone. Samuel, need to know what we can spend. Luke will cost. We need to know how much ASAP. I disagree there just because I'm sure the team has a rough idea of where it's going to fall. And so they could kind of plan accordingly, knowing roughly where it's going to be. And I think that's kind of what Fitz did last summer because he was making all those free agent signings before the Mercer contract was in place. So, and the Robertson trade is the most reasonable. Dallas supposedly wants assets and futures. Yeah, but he has no term. He has 1 year left, and then he's going to want mega money. So when you take everything into consideration, There's better options out there because the guys are signed long-term for good deals. Mark says Habs are going to be dangerous next year. Weightlifting lab, bro. 9's way too much. You guys are going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. I think 9 would be considered by everyone to be a great deal for the Devils. SST says, go get your Shine Box Homes. Are we going to have this bout or what? I mean, I'm just tired of the back and forth. Let's get it on. Heard the Devils just signed a water bottle. John Fay, just calling at this point if you guys are going to keep going at each other, SST and Yo Holmes. Yo Holmes threw it out there. SST is not answering the bell. Mark, like I said last night, Ace, what's Jaromir Jagr up to nowadays? I would love Jagr to be in the organization, obviously. Another pipe dream. But I think as like a skills coach, maybe a special assignment training coach, a guy like Jagr, I think, could be invaluable to a team. I have no idea if he would have any interest. But his off-season training stories are things of legend. Would love to see him work with some of these guys on specific, like I said, skill stuff, training on and off the ice. This guy was a specimen, led the Devils in points, I think, at like 40-something, whatever he was, complete freak of nature. SST's doesn't want the smoke. SST's not answering the bell. All right. I think I've had enough. I've been on here for a while. Anyone have anything of substance before I shut this thing down here? Tomorrow's the big day, guys. Tomorrow is the big day. Anyone have anything? You guys are still at each other's throats here. Weightlifting lab. I know it's not the times we're in, but what the hell has Luke proven? Dougie proved in the playoffs that he's worth $4 million per year. It's more about, I mean, listen, Luke has improved dramatically, brings the offense. He's getting better defensively. It's more so on these long-term deals. You're maybe overpaying them for the first year or two, but you're hoping that the majority, and especially in the later years of the contract, that they're relatively good deals. And if Luke is signed at $9 million, let's just say for argument's sake, this year, you're like, oh, that's a slight overpayment. If he pops off for a 60, 70 point season, is playing shutdown defense, power play, quarterback, his value would be way more than the $9 million. And so that's kind of what happens now with these long-term deals. You're hoping to maybe overpay a little bit up front in early years to have a comparatively great deal as the deal gets further on into the contract. And with the cap constantly going up, you could make the argument that in a few years from now, Luke very well may be a $12 million a year guy. And you would have him signed at $9 million, hopefully even less, but whatever it is, $9.5, $8.5 million. It's kind of the tactic now with all of these guys. Yep, I'll be live tomorrow. What time are you going live? Probably 11 a.m. Husky, great show tonight. Thank you, sir. Yo, Holmes says SST's life highlight is to troll Devils podcasts. Yo, Holmes, great show. A's top-notch guest. Thank you. John Fay, I thought you said something about going live as a free agency update. I'm gonna do like a free agent watch along. We're gonna see. Richard, Ace, thanks for all you do. Shut it down and have a Halls. Back at it. Yeah, my throat hurts. I don't know what the hell happened. But I'll be back tomorrow. I'll post it probably in a little bit, the live. Probably tomorrow at it opens at 12, so I'll probably come on at 11. We'll see. John Fay, yo, Holmes, we'll look at it this way. You throw the challenge out. We'll just need to wait for SST to grow the balls. The weightlifting lab, I get your brother, just an old school Devs fan that would love to see another Stevens dynasty. Psh, you and me both, man. You and me both. Samuel, doesn't it look smart to have some cap space now? It's always smart to have some cap space, but I don't know. What is that in reference to? They got to move some guys to have cap space. We're pretty tight up against it. Em says, looking forward to seeing this fan base implode because Fitz sits on his hands all day or the whole day. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm not expecting much. I think we're going to at least see some, new bottom six blood brought in. I don't see how we wouldn't. And we'll just kind of take it from there. My expectations are pretty low. I will not be gutted if we don't get a big name. I know a lot of you will. But that's it, guys. I'm shot. Thank you to my guests, Tim and Chris of the Uncle Puckers. Check them out. I tagged them in the description, so check out Uncle Puckers. I'll be having more guests on kind of throughout the summer and into next season for sure. I know you guys like that. I enjoy doing it, so you'll see some more of that. And I'll be going live tomorrow, probably at 11 a.m. But by the time, I'll be posting the live at some point tonight, so you'll know if you're watching, or tomorrow morning at least you'll see it there. We'll be doing a free agency live. That's it, guys. Thank you to my guests. Thank you guys for joining. Hopefully we're all pleasantly surprised tomorrow. And that's it. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.